Very good afternoon, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you guys to the first edition of W3 Conclave 2021. Frankly speaking, when we were conceptualizing this platform, we were really struggling what should be the name of this platform. And when we said W3, a lot of inquiries came up as to what do you really mean by W3? Friends, if you remember, 2000 probably the www was World Wide Web, and I think that's what we've been seeing across the board. But if you look at today, in the last couple of years, I think the W has changed the meaning. The three W's today mean work, workplace, and workforce. And in last 18 months, this has changed substantially. And in the entire web of workforce, entire web of workplace, and the entire work has actually changed for all of us. It has been disrupted time and again. The way the organizations have been working today, we have to rethink, reimagine, and reinvent ourselves right from the processes perspective. HR being going highly digital, people are actually going highly on an automation perspective. And I must say, today, the function of an CHRO is much more than what it used to be a couple of years back. So, first of all of you guys, thank you very much for joining and a very, very warm welcome. On the other hand, we started also thinking because of the pandemic, the disruption which we had, we actually started reinventing ourselves in a very different shape and form. The organization's style of working, the organization's style of leadership, the processes, the technology, all of these pillars of an organization started changing. Then we realized, why don't we even reward and recognize those champions who have done a transformation job in the HR perspective, in the transformation of organization perspective. So I think first of all, we are also rewarding and recognizing those people who have done a tremendous job in terms of transforming the function itself, the people itself, the workplace, and workforce. So please accept my formal welcome for all of you guys on a W3 First Edition Conclave on 2021. With this, I think let me also thank my partners, my title partners, Darwinbox and MindTickle. I think Darwinbox is a cloud-based SaaS HR technology platform that takes care of an organization's HR needs across the entire employee lifecycle, from hire to retire. It acts as a one-stop shop to streamline HR processes and has an evolutionary talent management system catering to every philosophy. It enables enterprises to automate their day-to-day HR processes, deliver actionable insights, and build better workplaces. Let's talk about MindTickle. MindTickle is a market-leading sales readiness platform, helping revenue leaders at world-class companies be ready to grow revenue by increasing knowledge, understanding ideal sales behaviors, and adapting to change. Dozens of Fortune 500 and Forbes Global 2000 companies use MindTickle to define excellence, build knowledge, align content, analyze performance, and optimize behavior throughout their sales organization. We also have two other partners. One is Knowledge Partner, which is Deloitte. They heavily contributed in defining what's our today's agenda. And I leave that with Jaydeep when he builds context for you guys. Deloitte also played a very important role in managing the entire process of selecting W3 champions of the 2021. So thank you, Deloitte. I think another partner which we have is Shine.com. And Shine works very closely to bridge the gap between the talent and the opportunities and offers end-to-end recruitment solutions. Shine Job Fair brings candidates and top employers under one roof, while Shine HR Conclave brings top HR leaders to share insights and latest trends, innovations, and best practices in the HR industry. Shine.com also has a large reach through its print product, the Shine Jobs, the Tuesday job supplement of Hindustan Times, making it the only job portal with an integrated print and online offering. I think with this, I would like my team to play the AVs, the videos of MindTickle and Darwinbox.
The rapid adoption of remote workforce readiness creates both challenges and opportunities for revenue leaders to develop winning sales and customer-facing teams. To win in this environment, Organizations must accelerate how they prepare their teams to be on message and on task the first time and every time. MindTickle is the industry-leading sales readiness platform designed to engage and transform your team's top performance potential. MindTickle gives reps the ability to practice and hone their skills wherever they are, and gives managers data and insights to review, score, and coach reps on how to improve their close rates and satisfy customer demands. MindTickle delivers just-in-time field updates such as new messaging, product information, competitive insights, and more. To combat knowledge and skill decay over time, MindTickle's spaced reinforcements build proficiency with automatic micro-learning, personalized and gamified challenges, and scenario-based questions. Leveraging the power of AI, MindTickle's conversation intelligence technology unlocks hidden insights from customer conversations and closes the loop on enablement and coaching. Only MindTickle can effectively measure the revenue-producing power of your organization. Our Sales Capability Index lets managers identify, remediate, and reinforce the specific capabilities that impact sales results and drive more predictable revenue. With dozens of Fortune 500 and Global 2000 customers, we are the proven leader ready to meet your initiatives today and in the future. Are you ready to transform your bottom line? Ready to enable your whole team to close like the pros? Contact us today because we're ready to help you develop teams that win.
As the modern-day workforce evolves, HR is faced with the challenging task of managing a dynamic human capital. However, many organizations still use outdated and disintegrated HCM solutions, which often lead to reluctant and poor user adoption. So why not make life simple, even at work? Meet Darwin Box, a new-age end-to-end HCM platform built for enterprises. It helps you manage the complete employee life cycle from hire to retire on one unified platform. With a mobile-first and intuitive user experience, Darwin Box is flexible to configure and easy to integrate. Darwin Box's recruitment and onboarding module makes your entire hiring process effective. From raising requisitions to hiring workflows to sending out digital offer letters, this module empowers you to make smarter business decisions. As Darwin Box becomes your organization's single source of truth, you get to manage complex functional structures with customizable workflows. With easy access to employee data and history, paired with effective permission controls, say hello to intelligent record keeping. The platform also enables managers to work with diverse shifts and rosters, allowing personalization of leaves and attendance, with features like geotagging, OneView, and more. Review and reward your employees effectively by configuring unique assessment frameworks, cascading goals, and sharing real-time feedback. Our comprehensive suite allows you to identify, award, and retain your high performers. With the talent management module also on the mobile, instant and holistic feedback is always a click away. It offers an automated 4-step payroll to help you manage varied salary structures. You can also easily track and approve expenses. You can also connect better on your organization's own social network to engage, update, and collaborate. Now experience the power of agility as you build custom reports from exhaustive data sets available on the fly. This, coupled with visual and predictive analytics, is the powerful combination you need to make a greater business impact. So take something that's new age, truly digital, and a one-stop solution for HR. Choose Darwin Box.
Wow, man. Let me tell you, I think Darwin Box, MindTickle kind of companies are thinking of tomorrow, not thinking of yesterday. The way they are operating, being mobile first, anywhere, they're truly creating an automation across the workforce. And in fact, the work and the workplace itself. But before that, I'm going to ask one thing from all of you guys. Just take a note of it. Very quickly, pick up your phone, type on the Twitter, hash CHRO 2021, and please tag @LiveMint, and please tweet as much as possible. Please give us your feedback. Please let us know what you're thinking, what you really liked about it, and let the world know that the first edition of W3 Conclave. Now, with this, I'm going to invite our next speaker, which is Jaideep Mehta, CEO, Mosaic Digital, and Business Head, Mint. I won't say much about Jaideep because he's my boss. But one thing I really like about him is he likes to run and drive organizations and SUV. So I think please welcome Jaideep Mehta for a welcome address.
Thank you, Salil. Thank you very much. And I agree with you. I mean, seeing those two AVs from our partners, Darwinbox and Mindtickle, is very encouraging, and especially given the events with Fresh Desk a couple of days ago. There's room for a lot of excitement about Indian SaaS, and both of these guys are doing some amazing work, and we're so pleased to have them as our partners. Very warm welcome to all of our guests, speakers, jury members, and of course the CHROs who we'll be recognizing as we go through the day today. It's my pleasure to welcome you all, and I'm going to take this opportunity to just share some of our research from the Edge Insights platform that we have, and also some of my own thoughts on that. So I'll just request my team to put on my deck. The name itself, Salil talked about, www. W3 is the new www. Over the last year or two, we've all been reimagining how we work, where we work, and if you're leading teams and companies, if you're an entrepreneur or a CEO, or indeed a CHRO, what does the workforce look like? And so I just want to start by throwing light on the importance of 2021. And no, it's not about the coronavirus. Actually, 2021 is also very important, because this is the first year that graduates will be entering the workforce who were born in this century. So they did their schooling till the age of about 18, did their 3 years in college, and now entering the workforce. And research around the world from leading academic institutions, universities, and think tanks have given a very clear understanding that the new age worker is looking for different things from their employer. They want organizations to be socially responsible and stakeholder driven rather than just, in the narrowest sense of the word, shareholder driven. Digital embrace and technology friendliness is a given. Companies who are not tech friendly are simply not on the consideration set for employment. They're looking for flexible working, remote working, flexible contracting, the whole gig economy conversation, which of course we'll have more of later. Looking for flat structures, the old hierarchies of corporations, not something which a lot of the younger workers find interesting and exciting, because they also want to keep learning. And there is a clear correlation between flattened structures and learning environments, right? And they want balanced living. And finally, research tells us that what's also important to them is diversity. What's also important to them is how inclusive is a company. How friendly are we towards those with special needs? How conscious are we with respect to the gender ratios in our workforce, and so on. Of course, money is always important, so I've not even bothered to list that down, but people do want to be paid fairly. But what's new is some of these things, and these are becoming very important variables for the most preferred employers, and on the back of that, the W3 champions. And a lot of the entries we got, which our knowledge partners, Deloitte, will share with you later more details about, really spoke to some of these themes here. The other thing, of course, which is very important in the current times, is the impact that this nasty pandemic has had on all of us as individuals, as families, as a workforce. It's caused a lot of disruption. It triggered even 500,000 strong companies such as TCS and Quest Corp to overnight switch to work from anywhere kind of paradigms. it triggered and challenged CHROs and CEOs to refresh HR policies, approaches, HR philosophies, even I would say, and really brought in a new level of compassion to organizations. And those who didn't display that compassion suffered through higher levels of attrition and through a loss of competitiveness over a period of time. So the coronavirus has had and continues to have a significant impact on the world of the CHRO and the HR dimension of all corporations. And the third significant thing that we see impacting organizations is digital HR. The onset of HR automation driven by organizations such as Darwinbox, such as MindTickle, and so many of their peers who are helping CHROs and CEOs to drive more productivity, more transparency, and really build the next generation organization to the image of the new workforce which is coming through, right? And when we pull all of these things together, what we find is that those organizations who've responded rather than reacted to the coronavirus pandemic, those organizations who have embraced digital rather than just pushing digital, and those organizations who are re-gearing themselves and refreshing themselves to welcome the younger workforce, to welcome the workforce of tomorrow in the way they approach engagement with their own associates and employees, in the way that they structure incentive policies, in the way that they enable remote working, contracting, and so on. Those are the folks who are going to be recognized as the W3 champions for 2021 in this event later today. So I'll conclude by just sharing with you that as you go through the next few hours, what you will find across various sessions, whether we're talking about the onset of the phygital organization to begin with, the conversation around the impact of artificial intelligence and whether that actually replaces people or actually enhances their productivity, the best practices that people are deploying, the gig economy, how real is it? How much is it going to pervade? Is it the new way of working as we go forward? All of these conversations are going to happen. And then we're going to wrap up with some special addresses and fireside chats, which are going to be really around diversity and inclusion. They're going to be around really leading with what we call trust-based policies as we architect the organization for 2022 and beyond. So it's going to be an exciting, and I hope for you, as our brand promise always is, an illuminating and actionable agenda. Welcome once again to the Mint W3 Champions for 2021. And Salil, with that, I hand back to you.
Thank you, Jaideep. And I think none other than you being the best person to set the context for W3, in fact. And you made W3 live, actually. How things are changing fast. It's almost that your hairs are going gray, and even mine. We are going older, but the new generation is coming into play now. So with this, I'll carry on forward with the agenda, Jaideep. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
My pleasure. See you all later.
Absolutely. So, friends, thank you very much. I think we want the best to be there to start with, and it's an honor for me to actually introduce the next speaker to you. Before I take the name of the next speaker, I'm sure when I take the name, you will recognize him as a personality, as a celebrity in the Indian incorporation perspective. But I'm going to talk about what he really does, etc. He pays utmost attention to fitness, be it himself or its employees, believing that happiness is core to all that we do, be it for our customers, our investors, our people, and business partners. He also has a gym in the office, and that's an indication for Jaideep to have a gym in office, as well hobby classes and even visits to the spa. When not working, he is an avid art collector and also keeps himself busy in the best game we play, which is cricket. He co-owns Rising Pune Super Giant team in IPL. And the topic he's addressing today is absolutely fantastic, which is phygital organization. How can we harness it? I would like to give a very warm welcome and an honor to invite Harsh Goenka, Chairman, RPG Group, to please give an opening keynote for us.
My heartiest congratulations to the team at Mint for launching the Mint W3 Awards. When you reached out to me last month, I was really delighted to be invited for this jury, more so because of my deep interest in this area of making organizations future ready through deployment of digital technologies that not only supplement physical interventions but greatly raises the entire spectrum of employee experience. I really enjoyed the interactions that we had between the jury members, and we had animated discussions. But the good thing is we came to a good consensus in all the cases. It was very hard to really find the winners. Every entry, I would say, was like a first amongst equals, owing to their uniqueness and innovation, scale of their impact, and their use of technology to address the real issues at workplace. Everything we do at work will more or less be led by digital technologies, whether it is the efficiency of our manufacturing operations, whether it be the effectiveness of our supply chain, service delivery accuracy, and even the way we interact with our own colleagues. Software has been the backbone of our industry for quite some time, and we are now increasingly witnessing how machine learning, AI, or robotics are driving such software. We experienced this paradigm shift during the past year and a half with COVID-19, making us quickly adjust to digital. The success of e-commerce retailers and their pickup and delivery programs go on to prove that consumers are now very comfortable using a mobile app to walk the aisles for them. We are looking at restaurants' menu on our mobile phones and ordering, and we are also using connected devices to monitor our own physical health. Therefore, this paradigm shift of aiding lives with digital is here to stay. So if this is happening in every function of work, why should this not be happening at our continually changing workplaces and become the experience driver for our colleagues? A host of digital solutions are available today, and I'm sure that more advanced interventions are in the making. I have seen from close the impact that technology can provide across areas of work, our workforce, and our workplaces. We are increasingly using robotic process automation to bring in unheard of efficiencies at work. But what is equally important is that we have to proactively upskill and effectively redeploy our people. I am gladdened to see technologies being introduced that constantly listen to our people, continually measure employee experience, use natural processing for sentiment analysis, and predict attrition. Vanilla data integration is now passive. Now is the time for intelligent and intuitive integration of relevant data that enables data-driven people decisions and takes away any kind of human bias. Like many of you, we are using a variety of technologies that intuitively intervene at the right time, promote wellness, reduce burnout, and enhance people productivity. Our BOTs are more seamlessly, effectively, and proactively doing all that used to be part of physical work in earlier years. This journey, however advanced we may think that we are in the end of the road, I think we are just at the very beginning. I have always believed that our productivity and our success are driven by how happy our own employees are. I have learned that amongst other things, this happens through creation of an enabling work environment and adoption of practices that are transparent and free from biases. I'm increasingly learning today that we can achieve this by integrating digital technologies and move away from any kind of physical work in as much of our work and workplaces as we can. We in our group are both building and co-creating such programs with our technology partners, and analytics, insighting, and experience is the core of this work. In the rapidly changing environment of the post-COVID world, technology will seamlessly complement human lives. More Davids will arise to vanquish Goliaths. It is time that we either adopt and embrace technology or just simply perish. This takeover will be very silent and effortless and will become a norm in our lives. However, what is most important in this journey is that we continually look inwards and build our own mental space and readiness to be able to accept these solutions as part of our own work lives. Thank you.
Wow, man. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Goenka, for a wonderful opening keynote. And I think I really liked something when you said, there is a statistic recently published in HBR which says that 5% employees of the organization delivers 95% capabilities of the organization. But you added a very different flavor to this angle. You said we are very worried about employee happiness. And I think today, while people are working from anywhere, largely they're working in silos at home, I think we really require this happiness to come live. Now, I think even Jaideep talked about artificial intelligence. Jaideep talked about machine learning, right from removing the biases in hiring process to actually making sure the organization is recognizing, rewarding talent and managing it. Artificial intelligence is playing a very important role. But there has been a debate across industries today whether artificial intelligence is going to replace the work. And I think what we believe in the first edition of W3 Conclave 2021 is about work is not getting replaced, neither the workforce is getting replaced. It is the augmentation of value through an artificial intelligence which is going to happen. So I think I'm going to invite the speakers for the next panel discussion, where the topic is replacing work and not the workforce. I think the first speaker is Amarpreet Kaur Ahuja, Country HR Director, India AstraZeneca. The second is Rajeshwar Tripathi, Chief HR Officer, Mahindra & Mahindra Limited. Kishore Puduri, Country Head HR, DBS Bank India. And Krishna Devpura, CEO, Mindtickle. To moderate the speakers, I think we have the best-in-class moderator with us, Leslie De Monte, Executive Editor, Mosaic Digital. With a very warm welcome, can I invite all the speakers and the panelists to be with us?
Thank you, Shalil.
Leslie, over to you. I have the best for you to moderate. And very good afternoon, all of you guys. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for your kind words, Shalil. I can see that the best are out here indeed. So let me just set it in context. I mean, speakers before me have already spoken about the power of AI and automation. And Mr. Harsh Goenka also spoke about how he's using RPA for the workforce as such. Now, teenagers applying for the job across the globe, they do realize that their resumes have to be customized, not only to fit the job description, but also to please AI algorithms that look out for keywords, key attributes, failing which they are unlikely to, have their voice heard in the clutter of the hundred of resumes that they get. But then this is also the very reason why HR departments are also using AI. So today, even though AI applications may not possess the human abilities like emotional and cognitive skills, AI based HR applications can analyze, predict patterns from thousands of resumes, which can aid companies, for instance, in the recruitment process, in onboarding, performance appraisal, even employee retention, not to forget the automation of the numerous mundane tasks. Now, in August 2019, the International Research Journal of Engineering and Technology published a paper titled "To Study Impact of AI on HR," in which the authors argued that the failure to deploy AI with HR practices could prove to be a dreadful sin which makes organizations difficult to grow big and survive in this globe driven by these advanced technologies. Of course, uh, sin is a strong word indeed. Nevertheless, the fact is that AI is a very disruptive force. It has the potential to make millions of jobs redundant. Of course, the World Bank argues to the contrary, insisting that it creates more jobs than it destroys. And we also will be talking about this particular topic. Then there's the issue of AI bias, like discrimination based on race, gender, and even age, that can be unnerving, especially if the AI decisions, the AI making decisions are sort of opaque, which that's why they call the neural nets as black boxes. Now, the real challenge lies within the respective HR departments. So, why do we say that? Because how well they train, retransform their workforce in understanding AI and collaborating and working with AI and automation solutions. The question, of course, is how should enterprises adjust to the increasing use of these disruptive technologies and adapt the workforce to a world where AI and automation is the norm in the enterprise? Now, what better way to understand this topic than to ask all these HR experts out here itself and how they strike this delicate balance in their own companies and how they see the road ahead? Amalpreet, I'd like to start with you. Obviously, given that your company is dealing with cutting edge things like pharmaceuticals, with biosciences, uh, you have to strike this delicate balance. Let us start with the kind of positives. So, I mean, this whole panel discussion, we are discussing it in three parts. One is, of course, the positives. Uh, I would not call it as the negatives. I would say these are the challenges and how they need to be addressed. And of course, the third part is wrapping it up, saying that, okay, this is the way forward. So, when we talk about the positives, how's AstraZeneca actually using AI automation?
Right. Leslie, thank you so much for, firstly, of course, inviting me for this conclave discussion. Appears to be really interesting in terms of the kind of topics that you're touching upon and the subject that we are broaching out here. So, absolutely an interesting space to participate. To give you a little bit of a context, I think since we're talking about the positive element, I would definitely like to start with a very, very important data point by itself. I think, when I was trying to look up the information, I was trying to just do a little bit of a read through on this entire piece. The very first piece that comes out that actually gives a lot of confidence to the entire fraternity, to the entire, employable workforce itself, is a space which indicates that our World Economic Forum is talking about that the 85 million jobs are going to be replaced by, are actually going to be replaced by 2025. And when we say that, it appears to be a very, very scary space. But on the contrary, it's the same report that's also telling us that about 97 million new jobs will also be created by the same time frame and by the same space. That actually gives you a lot of reassurance that it's not about the fact that it's a reducing element, but actually going to be an increasing element. So, on that positive note, let me give you a couple of interesting examples from AstraZeneca. I think I'm very happy and proud to indicate that on the element of artificial intelligence, on the element of using robotics, machine learning, I think to a large extent, AstraZeneca in its HR space has embraced that technology. When we say has embraced, in the entire employee life cycle, starting from hiring to the space of separation, there have been very many stages wherein the entire injecting of automation has been used. And how we look at experiencing the whole space, a couple of examples that I can share at the top of my mind are in the space of, all of us have experienced the pandemic right now, right? A year and a half now in the whole piece. We've all learned to work in the digital way of functioning. Having said that, there was a age old time when everything, when you're offboarding an employee, you had to carry your checklist, go door to door, get your sign offs and complete the entire piece. To today, fast forward the whole thing, everything has been made digitized, which means to a large extent our entire onboarding process and the offboarding process, as an example, has completely been automated, which also has given us an indication that about 98% of our employees on day one have had a fabulous experience with the entire initiative that has been taken. Another example, when we talk about this in this entire space, predictive intelligence actually has been utilized in order to make your entire HR operations very, very smart. And when I say that, it's about the entire hit of cases, tickets, questions that reach an HR operations. What happens that you're able to recategorize and reprioritize all of them and make it so important and identify that, okay, here is an important case or a high priority case and it needs to really hit to the HR analyst. And how do you prioritize? And the turnaround time, therefore, has gotten down significantly on account of this entire predictive management of your cases, as an instance. Same story can apply, when we talk about our recruitment experience, chatbots, the HR policies and procedures, the virtual agents. All of these are very smart examples to do away with all the mundane and the activities which can clearly be passed on to your robots and make sure that you're freeing up your space to a large extent for smarter, more intelligent work from the HR space. So I think those are just a few little examples. I have a much bigger list, but I'd definitely leave it back to you for the rest of the panels to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was a very insightful kind of stuff. I mean, the high level of automation. I think you said that almost like 99%, if I'm not mistaken. That's a term that you use. So I mean, it's very heartening to notice that that's happening. Now let's speak to Rajeshwar. Rajeshwar, now you're in the automotive and farm sectors. Is it that I know that the farm sector and automotive sector both are highly automated themselves, but is it that the HR is keeping pace with that kind of automation?
Yeah, thanks, Leslie. And again, thank you for inviting. The question itself is pretty diverse question, and I suppose that would be very different in different industries and in different business formats. But when it comes to HR, I would agree with whatever Amarpreet has already mentioned. I won't repeat that. The way I look at the entire space of AI application in HR fold, I would look at broadly in three buckets, right? Three areas, which is really taking shape. One is the voice and conversational bots, right? I think that has been used the maximum, if I was to say. And the second was the analytics and the machine learning. The third one, I think, lesser used in HR, but going forward, and we'll come to that in the last section, is the video and facial analytics. So we are just about seeing trailers of that. But the biggest application, I suppose, is in the first two areas, and which is the analytics and machine learning and voice and conversational bots. Now, you made a comment that the auto industry has seen a huge application. Yes, right from your braking system, which is the ABS braking system, to your infotainment systems, whichever vehicle we are driving today has lots and lots of AI. And going forward, electric vehicle and the connected cars, etc., is a different story altogether. Coming to the HR, So let me give you a few specific examples because I won't like to repeat what Amarpreet has already covered. Uh, we had, I think, a year back implemented a chatbot called Genie. So earlier, in the earlier times, we used to have a help desk, right? So any employee having any query used to give a call or write a mail or raise a ticket, right? There was a help desk. We have completely replaced it by a voice as well as text command bot. So if I was to, for example, I got transferred, I want to know what are my transfer entitlements. So I just have to say either voice or write, and all the policies related to transfer come on my mobile screen, right? It takes 2 to 4 seconds. So, from this kind of a simple application to application of RPAs in the entire workflow system, for example, the confirmation process, right? The onboarding process. In onboarding process, we have specifically included now a assist, voice assist, right? So those are the things, Leslie, which are clearly happening in the HR space, and it is only going to increase. I don't see that there is any choice. Whether it replaces people or replaces work is a different matter altogether.
Yeah, we'll come to
But I
that in a
don't
bit.
think, yeah, we don't have a choice at all. And the largest piece before I end is around employee experience. We've been talking about employee experience in different phases, in different formats. What basically technology and specifically AI has done, it has completely reinvented the expectations on employee experience. Because people in their daily lives, what they experience, they come to the workplace and their expectations is maybe 2 or 3 fold, right? And that is where I think the HR application of AI is largely going to change the workplace.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thanks, Rajeshwar. I think very insightful. Again, I think between Amarpreet and you'll have already covered the entire universe. So I know Kishore is at a little of a disadvantage. But then, Kishore, at the same time, the uptake on AI and automation in the BFSI sector is a known thing. So I will not want to repeat that with you. What I would rather ask you is what kind of people are doing that pickup? Is it that the older generation is finding it difficult to pick up these kind of tools? Is it that the uptake is much easier? I mean, we presume that the uptake is much easier with teenagers who already have 4 or 5 devices on hand, who already syncing, using collaborative terms, and probably teaching us how to use technology.
Thanks, Leslie, for inviting me to this forum. A bit of technical glitches I have faced at my end. I am taking this from on my mobile right now. Having said that, let me take. Yeah, thank you. Let me just kind of talk about some of the AI-led interventions we are doing in the banking forum, on the banking front, and even on the HR side. And what is the impact? The question I have asked on how people are adopting to it. That's, I think, the biggest challenge. And of course, the whole topic is it replacing workforce or what is the future? So I kind of resonate with my previous speakers is that it is the new imperative. It's a new reality. All of us have to adopt to AI and ML. So in our own example, in the year 2016, DBS Bank had launched this DigiBank. If you go back into the history, one of the first banks to launch complete automation of opening of a savings bank account, where you don't have to sign a single form in black and white, in ink, you could open an account. Which essentially meant that if you're opening 1 million of accounts, let's say 10 lakh accounts have opened, in the past we needed a floor of people to have these, account opening forms, the checkbook processing, the debit card processing, so on and so forth. We had a huge operation shop. Even though it was completely digitized, what has happened is that we were running this whole operation, it's completely digitized, right? Only 10 people who are only taking the technical queries. So you actually had kind of brought down this whole, process into a simplified, digitalized journey, wherein the complete way of doing banking has changed. So what it meant, obviously, when we redeployed this in our larger geographies across the DBS group, there are obviously thousands and thousands of folks in the offices, back offices, doing this work. So we said, look, this is the new reality. doesn't mean that we need to kind of anybody needs to lose a job. We kind of obviously put a hold on fresh hiring, and at the same time we focused on reskilling of people. So earlier somebody who was doing account opening processing has now become a technical support person who was taking calls and trying to help customers if there are any glitches with respect to the app, and also trying to explain the features. So that's how we retrain. And as we progress now, come circa 2020, as we seen COVID and as we seen a new subsequently versions of AI ML being launched at our end, we have actually gone on this journey for the last 4 years as we went on this digital journey, a transformational path where we said we will digify all our employees. Digify is a 7 badge curriculum, which includes agile, journey thinking, digital methodologies, digital tools, so on and so forth. Everybody needs to go through this training to be able to reskill, upskill themselves, and be able to be on this path of the new AI and ML world. And we have also brought in gamification. An example, interesting example is we partnered with Amazon Web Services, where we have this deep racer platform where you can actually race a car using AI and ML. And all our employees took part in this race. And through this race, they actually learned a bit of a coding also, and how to then play the car and how to run the car on the track. And it automatically learns how to then obviously connect itself and run on the track, right? So that kind of experience through gamification, we have kind of upgraded lots of our folks on this AML journey. And today we have seen that our workforce has significantly changed its nature. In the past, 100% bankers, today we are almost 40% technologists and remaining digital natives. Complete transformation in the way we are looking at our workforce, and it's a journey, and we're still doing that. But yes, we have taken a view that that's the future. We need to reskill, upskill, and we transform the mindset amongst our employees, and that's the journey we are on.
Kishore, you almost finished the entire panel discussion with the challenges and everything else. But of course, luckily, there's a lot more to discuss at this point in time.
Sure.
But thank you. I mean, you did speak about reskilling and retraining, which is a very important part of the challenges. But we will come to that in a bit. Krishna, now, probably when you see all these companies out here, these are the very big companies. They probably have the resources on hand, because IT and automation is not a cheap thing to do. You probably need some smart ways of doing these kind of things. Now, yours is a hardcore automation company, a SaaS company out there, deals with all these tools. Can you give us an insight as to whether this is restricted only to big companies? What are the kind of trends that you're seeing?
Thanks, Leslie. And first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity, and honored to be on this panel with such esteemed speakers. So thank you for that. So I think one interesting thing, I mean, as they mentioned in the beginning, the entire thing which is changing is, first there was technology which was being developed for large companies, and there was a lot of outsourcing things. Then there was a lot of technology which got developed for consumer markets, right? We saw Flipkart, we saw Paytm coming up, we saw all these new applications. And now is what we are seeing, and SaaS has become a common word. When we started 10 years back, nobody knew. But software as a service is something which is that power that anybody, whether you're a 10 people company to a 10,000 people company, you can use this, right? So that is where I think this is the new wave which is coming, which companies are adopting with all the security, internet, all the infrastructure in place. And that is where we are seeing that every single company is adopting. And today when you see, even the lot of new companies which are coming up, which are like hardly 10 to 50 people, 100 people company, they can use a lot of these technologies. And what is happening is even all this power of computation, intelligence, and all this is getting commoditized, right? And I'll give you some example, because I'm on the other side of this, trying to make all these things possible for all the companies. So some of the largest pharma companies are our customers, right? So I'll give you one example and how technology and AI is changing. So for example, there is this apps, like the time with doctor is limited. Like our doctors are so precious, right? And when you're and a medical representative is going and talking to them, you cannot get 5 or 10 minutes with them now. Now you get like limitedly 1 or 2 minutes to really talk about what the drug is, what are the advantage, whatever it is. So can you do a simulation and role play, or do something where you can pitch to a virtual doctor, really figure it out, and instead of your manager who cannot really go through it, but the machine can give you insights that, hey, you are missing the drug, you are speaking too fast, oh, you need to cover these things. Imagine this was the power. And for example, this is the technology that we provide, and it's a subscription. Yeah, you can literally download, start, do it on your own mobile. And that is how we are empowering very small pharmaceutical companies to one of the largest pharma companies, both in India and the world, right? The second part is, for example, Mr. Rajeshwar mentioned, and that is one of the key things which will change. And when we'll talk about the opportunities and challenges, is the experience part. One of the fundamental thing is happening is our professional and personal lives are merged. We all want beautiful experiences. We want experience. So like when these employees are joining, they want experiences. So let's talk about onboarding, right? So now everybody is different. Some people are young, some people are experienced, some people are fast learners, some people are slow learners. Some people want to go deep, some people want to go, in breadth. So how do you ensure that each of them get a personalized journey, right? So that is where you are making these onboarding experiences. But as and when, if I can learn, if I can monitor, if you can use AI and ML to personalize your learning paths, that gives you a deep satisfaction depending on what you want. You are a video guy, you are an audio guy, you are a PowerPoint person. So again, I mean, just giving you some of those examples. And the good part is, whether it is Mindtickle or whether it is a lot of other companies, every company is disrupting some part of the business processes that people are doing, right? And then they are literally providing it as a subscription service to you. So people are paying for that monthly, yearly, or whatever you want, right? You can sign up, get started. There are obviously security protocols in place. So that is democratizing it based on whoever you are, wherever you are, and what size and what pockets you have. There's going to be a technology for everyone. Now it depends on where you want to take it and how you want to take it. And that is another reason that this transformation is happening very fast. And as Mr. Jaideep mentioned in his talk, it will happen whether you like it or not, because it is now pervasive.
Krishna, yeah, good. So I think now, we are clearly established. I mean, of course, because we are speaking to companies that are already pretty advanced as far as AI and automation in HR is concerned. But of course, along with the introduction of these kind of policies, there are challenges that are there. Kishore did speak about a few challenges, but Amarpreet, I would like you to talk a little about, I mean, typically, how is it, impacting the morale of employees? Because when you do it on a daily basis, like I wouldn't want to mention which tools are using, because that would be a little unfair to those tools. But some of these tools are seen as intrusive. They seem like, okay, you're monitoring them. I wouldn't use the word spying, though some employees do use those words. Like, these are intrusive. These are, tracking each and every movement of mine. And then everybody now wants privacy, those kind of things. So I think it's quite a challenge where you take a lot of, people from the HR department take a lot of flack. How do you handle it?
I think that's a very interesting dimension, Leslie, that you're bringing out in terms of the overall morale of the employees. And the most important element that all of us within the HR space have to identify is a space of communication, is a space of change management, is a space wherein you're very clearly able to articulate the need for this change, the reason why it's happening, what analytics is it, actually at the end of the day helping us arrive at, what dashboards are we able to work with, what are those interactive dashboards which are helping us in this entire decision making process. So it's very important that while it may appear that there is intrusion of sorts, but ideally if there is a ability to communicate and articulate the bigger picture, what's the larger benefit that the organization is deriving as a result of this. Some of them may be important from a compliance perspective, some of them are very important from a from a data privacy perspective. So there's various dimensions out there, and when we talk about those dimensions, one is there is a need to do it, but the bigger, more important element is our ability to communicate that change and our ability to articulate what the broader vision is, why is this happening, how does it impact, and what does it mean for you as an employee, as an individual. So I think the larger picture gets covered there in the form of change management and the communication element, which in turn will then get us to a space of culture change to a large extent. I think that it's like a very slow and steady process of sorts. You begin with that change management intervention, and slowly and steadily it becomes a part of, it becomes ingrained in the entire ecosystem. And that is what is required, because many of my esteemed panelists, including your earlier keynote speakers, had called out that this is inevitable, it's there to happen. from the HR perspective, it's our ability to navigate through that change. I think that's the important part. And then make sure that those engagement elements are not dipping, that morale is not dipping down. Because if you are able to explain that element, it will have the direct correlation of the why, what, how, and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, you have given a very concrete example. I think we are running out of time. We have some few minutes left. Rajesh, was very quickly, in a minute, if you can, I know it's a little unfair to say within a minute, but if you can encapsulate this whole thing of, losing jobs versus reskilling, retraining, which Kishore had touched upon earlier. How do you strike that delicate balance?
Yeah, so since I have only 1 minute, I will be very, very brief. My view is a little different, okay, than what the reports are suggesting. And not view, my experience, because see, has two levels, right? One is a low intelligence substitution, and the second is a high intelligence substitution. We are jumping to conclusion without having even seen the second part, right now what we are witnessing, especially in the HR space and all the these call centers and all these things, are low intelligence spaces. Now these are practically, AI is replacing those areas, and there I agree with that theory that something is going away and lots of other areas where it's getting added. But as we progress in the maturity of the AI and we start replacing the higher intelligence jobs, that is when I think the real proof of the pudding would be. So I am right now not commenting on that. My personal view is that net, it's going to reduce the jobs.
I've actually completely run out of time, but having done that, I still have, I can squeeze in a minute. To all of you, I'm going to ask you one question. If I were to ask you to describe with an adjective the future of the workforce, what kind of adjective would you use? Krishna, let's start with you. Just one adjective.
Employee experience.
Excellent. Kishore?
Sympathy.
Sympathy or empathy?
Empathy, given the context in which we are.
Excellent. Amalpreet?
I think it's the workforce with learning agility.
Workforce with agility. Rajeshwar?
On the move.
On the
24/7.
Lovely. So friends, you all have the answers with you. AI and automation in the workforce is a major challenge. It requires a lot of reskilling and retraining. Yes, you can get easily unnerved with a lot of introduction of software robots, RPA, AI, and but I think at the same time, HR people are here. They are cognizant of the fact they have empathy, they have sympathy, they have agility. It's on the move and a lot about customer experience. So with this, I think we'll call it a day. Thank you, all of you, for being spending time with us and sharing your insights. It was lovely having all of you on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Leslie, and thank you all my panel members, colleagues. Thank you. Nice.
Thank you, Leslie. In fact, Leslie, all the panelists, I'll tell you, Leslie and me have been fighting a war internally. Because people are saying that AI will write the articles automatically. So what will we do? Okay. somewhere the debate is on internally as well, and we are fighting very hard. I think the word which we are looking, whether it is AI or not, I think is emotional intelligence across the world. And I think more and more I am seeing the greatest of the organizations globally as well as in India, I think, have started realizing that emotional intelligence is something which we need to bring in. Whether we bring in through a technology, through an automation, through an engagement programs and etc., but we still need those employees with us, which we call them as organization. And I firmly believe people are organization and organizations are people. So there is no big difference between both of them. But on a personal note, knowing so many CHROs would be a personally great benefit for me. We'll connect later, guys. Thank you very much for joining us today. Krishna, thank you very much. Rajeshwar, thank you. Good, guys. I think the journey is becoming so exciting. I can't tell you. I've been hearing the discussion points. I've been hearing different topics, thought processes of the people. Various organizations have a various outlook towards it. I think, and to bring it all together, I think AI was the subject which has to be debated very well. I think it's still yet not closed. The jury is still not yet out. People are still figuring it out, what level, where, how, and so and so. Let me continue with this, but before that, hash CHRO 2021. Take 15 seconds, guys. Post as much as you can post on the Twitter. Tag it as the rate live mint and be on with it. We continue the journey, guys. I think the journey has been very exciting because when we conceptualized this journey 3 months before, I think we were all talking about how would we discuss things. And when we were asking for nominations to come, the interest of the CHROs to submit their nomination for the awards, we had Deloitte as a partner, and they were actually going through each and every nominations which came, the entries which came. So we thought that why not is the best idea to have Deloitte as a partner, knowledge partner, to share some of the best practices which they have observed overall while in the ecosystem. At the same time, a lot of learning has come across on the nomination front as well. So I'd like to invite Anand Roop, partner Deloitte, and Nikhil, director Deloitte, kickstart the session. Guys, can we have you on the screen, please?
Hi, I hope I'm audible.
Oh yeah, loud and clear. Am I audible
Thank
to you
you.
guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining. And first of all, thanks for being a partner as Deloitte, guys. Really appreciate. I know there's a lot of heavy lifting happened at your end, and we'll talk about. I'm sure you're going to share a lot of insights with us. I'll leave the stage to you guys.
Thank you, Shalil, and thank you everyone for. I think what we'll do is we'll over the next 15 odd minutes we'll walk you through a little bit in terms of how we ran this process and some of the learnings, like Shalil was saying, that we gathered as we went through this entire journey. And I'll introduce some of these, and then I'll hand it over to Nikhil, who was actually the man running the whole show with the team from Deloitte. So I don't know Nikhil, if you can project the slides, but what we basically, just to take a step back, what we essentially did was, over the last 10 years, Deloitte has been investing a lot in this whole area of future of work. And the entire discussion about future of work has been premised on the fact that work itself will change as technology changes. I mean, it is beyond the doubt that it will happen. The question was, how will the change happen? What are the nature of changes that will happen? And some of the things that we debated through the entire course of the 10 years preceding the pandemic was around the three dimensions of work, worker, and the workplace. And the discussion was about the fact that as technology changes, how does the construct of work change? What do people do differently? How do people do things differently? What is the nature and structure of the worker in the sense that how does the worker engage with work? What is the kind of skills, capabilities, competencies, etc. the worker needs to bring into the workplace? And the workplace was essentially a definition of how the worker and the work interfaces. And the discussion was about the fact that in a highly technology-oriented world, and which it was projected to become, how does the worker and the workplace interface with each other? Cut to where we stand today. As you can see, I am sitting in an office. Nikhil is in his sleeves lounging at home. Some of you are lounging at home as well, along with Nikhil. But the entire definition of the workplace itself has changed. And I think what we were trying to define as how will this work get executed, etc. The entire definition changed to saying that whether work will at all happen from offices the way it was envisaged earlier, or the way it has been for the last maybe 3 centuries. And what has happened, and if Nikhil, if you can go to the next slides, what was happening in this entire journey is that from our perspective, what we realized is that when we spoke to Mint about this entire conversation when we were having with Mint, we realized that in reality, there is no really strong database or understanding of what have companies in India done in this regard. So if you read any article, and I can talk about the fact that even when we write articles, most of the time the discussion ends up about some global company having done something. There's very little evidence of what are companies in India, not just Indian companies, what are companies in India doing in this entire transition. And that was the background to this entire process, to understand what are all of you in your organizations, how are you innovating in these 3 dimensions of work, worker, and workplace. And in this process, what we did effectively was that, so Mint helped us reach out to organizations. We Mint receive nominations from about 300 organizations which we funneled down to about 73. And this funneling was primarily basis some very basic level screening in terms of what was in terms of some criteria that we had applied. These 73 nominations was something that we went through very meticulously to understand what exactly was it that these organizations were doing. And then, basis that shortlist, we came to the jury with 25 companies, and then the jury finally selected what they felt were the most promising organizations, the most promising practices that organizations had in certain areas of this entire journey of worker, workplace. I think from our perspective, and before I hand it over to Nikhil, I think the 5 things that we were looking for, and I know that when we spoke to the jury was also looking at, was around the fact that how innovative and original is the idea. And while the idea is innovative and original, and the other important big question is that does it really have impact? In the sense that does it really impact just one small stream of an organization, one small function, or does it impact the entire organization as a whole? Also, importantly, that idea or the impact, is it sustainable? I.e., is this something that happened because there was a pandemic around the corner, because we all had to behave in a particular way? Or is this something that is fundamentally going to stay with that organization going into the future? And therefore, the future readiness of it, that when you look at it from a longer term perspective, are you really able to build something that will be ready for the next few waves of technology changes, modification that will come our way? And the last point that we were looking at, and this is a conversation that has happened, the last 2 conversations that you heard, both tapped onto this point as well, is how technology actually augments human work as opposed to negatively impacts it. I.e., technology should be able to make humans more productive, make humans more efficient, effective, as opposed to simply acting as a means to reduce workers from the workforce. The idea about technology taking away jobs is something that has been discussed on and on. The important thing about technology is that technology should add to jobs, should add to the effectiveness of jobs as opposed to just reducing them. And that was something that we're looking for, that when a technology is implemented, is it just purely to say that this will reduce jobs, or is a technology or a change being implemented to actually help work happen better, help the product or the service reach the customer better? So that was our evaluation criteria. I think, Nikhil, if you could talk a little bit about some of the core findings that we had across all these organizations that we saw.
Thanks, Andy. And it's a real pleasure to be part of this conversation today. We just wanted to talk about a few best practices that we saw during this study. I just wanted to caveat that this is a bird's eye view, given we have about 5 to 7 minutes. The way we've structured these best practices to talk to you today is along the same 3 W's again. So what are the practices that we saw on work? What are the practices that we saw from a workforce perspective? And what are the practices that we saw from a workplace perspective? So I'll start with work, right? And I think the biggest takeaway for us, which was a bit of a surprise, was that most of the practices that we saw when it came to the future of work and initiatives that have been undertaken, predominantly they were a reactive measure, right? We didn't see too much evidence of proactiveness in terms of things that organizations had done prior to the pandemic, or even in a proactive mode, even while the crisis was going on. Most of it was a reactive measure to a specific issue or a challenge they faced, and I would say about 85 to 90% of the practices that we saw was reactive. So I think the big question is really, how do organizations go from that reactive to the proactive mode when you think about applying automation, when you think about applying some of the new age technologies and reimagining work. Now, continuing with that thread on reimagining work, I think what we saw, the leading companies in this study, they've not really stopped at digitization, right? Digitization is basically you take an existing process and you apply technology as a layer to build efficiency and speed. What we saw was that leading organizations have actually focused on digitalization, right? Which is actually fundamentally going back to the way work is done, and then essentially building from that, right? So we take a clean slate, zero-based approach, knowing that there are a lot of new technology tools available, and ultimately what that's doing is, how do you reimagine work for each and every function, each and every role, rather than take the current ways of working and then apply a technology filter. So I think that was a big pivot, big shift that we saw. The second big insight for us when it came to automation and tech was how it has disrupted many legacy sectors. Right, as you will probably see during when the awards are announced, some of the winners are from what we would call legacy sectors, such as real estate, construction, which involve a very high physical and resource attribute, right? And what we saw was that there have been a lot of disruptions which have happened because of the application of these technologies. So we had geospatial tagging, we had AI being applied to the entire source to procure process. So it was something that we saw, which was impacting the entire value chain, with a very deep dive on the physical work or the physical nature of work, and how do you eliminate that or how do you optimize that. The third one that came across very strongly again was in agile working models. Now, agility as a term, I think has been spoken of a lot. But what really became very clear to us through this study was how organizations are able to build seamless integration between the work that's done by a person and work that's done by AI ML machine. And what we realized, the real benefit of that was it was essentially freeing up time, unlocking human time for what we do best, right? Which is creativity, storytelling, and problem solving. So on the work dimension, I think it was a very, I would say, good set of learnings. But when it comes to workforce, and workplace, from our perspective, I think the maximum potential, maximum focus for the future needs to be on work, because that really is the starting point, right? How do you reimagine work? Moving to the workforce, again, one very strong theme that came in was the alternate work model, and how organizations are adopting what we call multi-mode, right? So multi-mode essentially comprises full-time, contract, gig, consultants, freelance, and especially the partners you have in your ecosystem as well. So when you look at those 5 or 6, let's say, groups, right, that comprise the multimode workforce, we saw that 35% of organizations have actually defined roles which fall into the contract model, the gig model, the full-time model. So I think there's been a lot of progress on this in terms of defining roles, identifying, earmarking roles, and that was a big positive. I think subsequent to that was also how organizations have used policies to help the alternate work model seamlessly integrate with the legacy and with the full-time model. A couple of other points which came in on workforce. We saw a huge uptake in terms of digital upskilling. Of course, a lot of this was forced because of the pandemic. You didn't really have an option of a classroom program, and therefore the adoption and acceleration that we saw in e-learning, virtual learning has never happened before, right? And we saw companies reporting 200%, 250% increase in adoption. The other big thing that they've been able to do via virtual learning is build tailor-made learning journeys, right? The typical pitfall of an old learning model is how you kind of depend on a group setting and a group. It's like the way we used to go to school, right? We were not learning at the same pace, or not that we probably wanted to learn the same things. What's really happening because of technology and because of e-learning is that the art of the possible when it comes to individual journeys has really been strengthened, and that's what organizations are doing, so that every individual has a bespoke journey which is based on their needs and their aspirations. The third theme that we saw was on Uberization of careers, what we're calling Uberization of careers, which is how do you let the employee take center stage for their own career, right? Self-directed career paths, not dictated by leadership specifically, coupled with, of course, learning and development interventions. So, agile work, alternate work model, digital upskilling, Uberization of careers. These were the 3 themes that we saw on workforce. Now, coming to probably the most spoken about W, right, during the last 1.5 years, which is of course the workplace. I think there is the jury's out on that one. I think in terms of what hybrid model really means, right? You have a set of jobs who are dependent on a physical environment because they're either working with customers or they're working with machines which need you to be, let's say, in a manufacturing location, or let's say a data center. So that's about 20-30% of jobs, right? That's what we saw in our study. there was a lot of evidence on moving many jobs, especially when you look at the enabling side, to fully remote models. So what organizations have been, of course, do through this is look at efficiency, effectiveness of digital processes, uh, de-risk in terms of if the employee is coming in, not coming in. It kind of makes a more distributed workforce, and of course, the side effects in terms of real estate cost savings, all of that is of course enabled through fully remote models. The biggest one, the chunk which we are seeing emerge, will be hybrid as a model, and that's probably going to apply to half the jobs. Now, what we've realized through this study and through our own research also is that there is no policy that probably can be defined for hybrid at an organization level. It really comes down to team dynamics, leader manager conversations, how much flexibility is available as a cultural element in an organization, and how are teams able to form norms so that they're able to optimize who stays in, who gets the flexibility, and how do you ensure that teams are working in a much more effective way. We also saw a lot of focus again from a leadership development perspective on building capabilities in leaders to manage hybrid virtual teams, given that it's a new manager ask, it's a new leadership ask, it was never asked of before, and many leaders kind of saw this as a huge development need. And of course, collaborative platforms again saw a huge uptake. StreamYard itself, I'm sure, has seen a huge uptake in the kind of growth and opportunity that it's seeing. That's being leveraged by organizations to drive communication, to drive virtual working. And finally, I think we have, of course, have a session also. Satya is going to talk to us about employee well-being. But 90% of the organization that we studied said they've invested in holistic well-being. But I think the key thing here for us is how do you sustain it rather than, again, treating it as a reactive measure because people were working virtually 100%. There was a need for emotional well-being. So that's really the top three takeaways from the future of workplace. As I said, it's a bird's eye view. Happy to pick up any conversation that you want to have offline. And with that, I'll hand it over back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you, Anandru. I think the best practice is that it was not actually a bird's eye view, frankly speaking. It was a much deeper view, and I think it made perfect sense. What things have to be proactively, I think today is reactive in nature, but the way the pace people have picked up, I think it will become more proactive in nature in going forward, and that's the whole idea to set up what is we seeing today, and then we continuously see and evolve over the next few years. But with this, thank you very much, guys, for sharing, and thank you very much for being a partner on the process side as well. It added a lot of value to us in terms of your knowledge, your experience working with the customers. What you brought on board is well appreciated by internally as well as the jury, in fact. But it is that time of the day also, guys, where we are suddenly reaching to the first set of awards as well. So thank you very much. And with this, I'm going to invite Jaideep with me. First of all, I would like to really ask Jaideep to introduce the jury members to us. I think the eminent jury which helped us select the winners, Jaideep. I think that's first thing first. Over to you.
Indeed, Salil, and thank you to our friends from Deloitte. Folks, as you probably observed, there was a huge amount of effort which went in to managing the process and also evaluating every single entry which came in. And as you're going to find out very soon, the entries were both large in number but also very high in quality. So I won't steal from the subsequent event, but you're going to see some very familiar names, some very familiar companies, and they were chosen by some very, very eminent leaders. So I'm very pleased to share. Our jury was illuminated by the presence of folks who you, pun not intended, see in the papers every day. We've already had the pleasure of Mr. Goenka's thoughts as right at the start of this conference, chairman of the RPG group. Hema Ravichandran, among other things, director on the board of Infosys, strategic HR advisor. I'm sure all of you in the HR world will agree with me when I say she needs no introduction. For all of you folks, and I certainly am part of that crew which enjoys a cup of coffee every morning. We thank Nestle for that, and Mr. Suresh Narayanan leads it very ably. I remember he was parachuted in during the time of the Maggie crisis, and did such an amazing job at managing the whole crisis and turning it around. And today, of course, Nestle is back where it belongs, and so is the beloved Maggie. So thank you for your time, sir. Mr. Kaushik Shaparia, CEO of Deutsche Bank India. I remember also took over when his predecessor went off to run Yes Bank at that time. And Deutsche Bank, of course, being one of the world's most eminent global banks, he too took out time from his schedule to be with us. And between him and Mr. Narayanan, we had sort of what I call the MNC view of the world. Mr. C.P. Gurnani, CEO and MD at Tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra today has well north of 100,000 people, a company which is thriving through the disruption caused by COVID, and equally the opportunity created by digital adoption around the world. And Mr. Gurnani is, of course, a long time CEO there. His original claim to fame, many of you may remember, was when he boldly went up to Mr. Mahindra along with his then Vice Chairman, Mr. Nair, and said, let's go take over Satya. And the rest, as they say, is history. And Tech Mahindra is firmly, called out as one of the tier 1 IT services companies today. Talking of tier 1, the Aditya Birla Group, of course, needs no introduction. Dr. Santrup Mishra, another very well-known face in HR circles, previously and currently leads the HR function for Aditya Birla Group, but one of those who has also transitioned into being a business leader and runs the carbon black business for the group, as well as the chemicals business. And interestingly, his biggest customer, or one of his biggest customers, if in his own words, is actually Mr. Goenka's flagship company, CEAT. So we had some very interesting discussions in the jury meet with so many eminent personalities. Dr. Mishra and Ms. Ravi Chandar were the folks who brought in the HR expertise. Mr. Goenka and Mr. Gurnani brought in the expertise of leaders who are running groups and companies respectively with several tens of thousands of people in them. Mr. Narayanan and Mr. Shaparia brought in the MNCs. This is the jury which was put together by our editor and his senior colleagues. And they were the folks who navigated through all the hard work that Deloitte had done to finally shortlist and choose the very worthy winners who we're going to announce very shortly. Thank you all, to all 6 of you for your time, which we know is your most precious and scarce commodity, and for your wisdom. Thank you ever so much. And Salil, with that, I think Mr. Goenka is here as well. I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, Jaideep. Like I said, I am very excited because this is the time when we are announcing the first set of awards, and I really want to invite the eminent jury member, Mr. Harsh Goenka, with us today on the screen. Very good afternoon, Harsh. Thank you very much for joining. It is indeed, actually.
Good to see you, sir.
Yep. And it's such a pleasure. I always wanted to announce names of the winners and tell them they have done a great job. And I've got this opportunity today, Jaideep and Harsh. Thank you very much. The first category which we are going to announce is the large enterprises. So we have large enterprises, medium enterprises, emerging enterprises, and digital natives as 4 categories. So this segment, this set of awards which we are announcing are the 3 awards in the large enterprises segment: Future of Work Disruptor, Future of Workforce Disruptor, and Future of Workplace Disruptor. And I think, when the names comes up, guys, frankly speaking, these are the companies which are age-old companies. These are also companies which are very new companies. And these are also companies which bears the flag for India outside world as well. So can I take your permission to announce the winners as well?
Of course. Please go ahead, sir.
Sure. Thank you. So I think the first category, future of work disruptor, I think we would like to announce the name as Dr. C. Jay Kumar, Vice President, Head Corporate Human Resources, Larsen and Toubro Limited. Implementation of advanced geospatial technologies, terrestrial lidar, geospatial analytics, drone-based photogrammetry, stereo satellite imaging, and driving new dimensions of safety, including workmen, tracking, AI analytics, etc., through technology. Dr. C. Jayakumar, some of those stuff I don't even understand what it means, frankly. I'm just reading it through. But from my perspective, many congratulations for winning this future of work disruptor.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, if you would like to speak something, yeah.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity and this recognition. It's a great honor for me, my team, to receive this award on behalf of Larsen and Toubro. My sincere thanks to the organizers and the eminent jury panel. I would like to also congratulate the organizing team for conceptualizing this W3 Conclave 2021, reimagining 3 Ws: future of work, the workplace, and the workforce. Thanks to the visionary leadership of my CEO and MD, Mr. S.N. Subramaniam, for embarking on this digital transformation journey 3-4 years ago, that helped us to scale up to this level and meet the customer expectations. Thank you very much once again. My sincere thanks to the organizers, the eminent jury panels for recognizing and the contribution. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to you and your colleagues, Dr. Jayakumar. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Yeah, we are reaching to the second category in the large enterprises, future of workforce disruptor. Very pleased to announce, and frankly, this is one of the favorite flag bearer company in the country today, I would call it. So Dr. Nandini S, Group Head, Organization Development, Infosys Limited. Can we have her on the screen, please? In the large enterprise, Infosys Limited, future of workforce disruptor, I think created a talent continuum integrating employees, hybrid remote, gig workers, internal, external, and subcontractor, and use third-party strategies to prepare workforce, digital readiness, digital careers, and a fluid marketplace. Nandini, everything else I have heard, but fluid marketplace is the new thing which I have heard. But many congratulations from my side for winning this award.
Thank you, Shalil, and thank you everyone, Mint, Jaydeep, and the jury members. Thank you so much for this. They've all said before, these kind of awards are really a kind of motivation and a boost to all the hard work the teams have been doing. And Infosys, especially in the last 18 to 24 months, have been steadfast working on many of these digital talent transformation initiatives. And an opportunity to present this to a forum such as this and to have it validated and recognized is absolutely wonderful. It's a great recognition for the work my team has done. So congratulations to everyone for making this happen. And thank you, Mint, and all the partners associated with Mint for giving us this opportunity.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Nandini.
Thank you.
Infosys has always been ahead in the people practices, and great to see you win this award. Congratulations and all the very best.
Thank you, Mr. Goenka. Really appreciate it.
I think I'll just also add very quickly, during the jury deliberations, when the Infosys name popped up as one of the nominees, Ms. Ravichandran actually recused herself, citing the fact that she was on the board. And I just want to share that with our audience as well, because she didn't want to have even the appearance of any conflict. And that, to add to what Mr. Goenka just said, just talks about the ethos of Infosys as much as, of course, the principles that she herself follows. And once again, congratulations. Salil, back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jaydeep. Thank you, Nandini, and many congrats once again. So the last part of the first set of awards in the large enterprise, the third award category, which is Future of Workplace Disruptor. Very surprisingly, this organization has gone through a big change, guys. I would like to invite Mahesh Kumar Bajaj, General Manager, Transformation and BPR, Indian Bank, on the stage, please, as winner for Future of Workplace Disruptor. I think the only thing which I will say about this organization, that they have gone through one of the largest merger, and during the merger, the most agile leadership has been shown, agile structure and been shown across, while people were working from home. I think Mahesh, many congratulations for winning this award.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, jury, for recognizing Indian Bank for this prestigious award. I, on behalf of the entire workforce of Indian Bank, thanks Mint and the jury member. I would just like to inform this on these 3Ws. We at Indian Bank are planning a big transformation in all these 3Ws: the work, workplace, and workforce. Recently, we have come up with 2 RFPs. One is on the digital transformation, and second on the operating model transformation, in which we are taking care of the new ways of working. Apart from that, we are coming up with the performance management system and the leadership development plan. So thanks to the jury once again for recognizing our efforts and the work done by our team during the pandemic, as well as during merger. Thank you so much.
In fact, the entire jury was very impressed as to how you have made the elephant dance. In spite of the merger, in spite of the impediments being a PSU, indeed a very commendable achievement.
Thank you, sir. So nice of you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Mahesh. Very, very well done. And please pass on our compliments to your team.
Definitely. Thank you. So nice of you.
Thank you, Mahesh. Yep, thank you. So that actually brings the end to the first set of awards, guys, in the large enterprise, and all the three organizations, the very well deserving organization, have to receive. Thank you, Mr. Goenka, for being with us and helping us awarding them. Jaideep, as usual, thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure.
We'll continue with
Mr. Goenka, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. We'll continue with our W3 Conclave, guys, and we'll come back to the next set of awards a little after some time. Okay, I think, while we were having a previous discussion, best practices, people were more reactive. They've just suddenly shifted to the pandemic side, how people are going to work, where the workplace would be, and how the work would be defined. I think one of the things which came out very clearly, that through using certain automation technology, we can actually go across continents to hire, new set of talent and create sort of a talent density inside the organization. Few years back, there was a word which was coined, gig economy. And I think the millennials were starting to drive gig economy across the board. But now I'm saying that organization needs to decide on gig operating model. I think the next session is all about to gig or not to gig. And, frankly speaking, we have got two eminent speakers. One is Akhil Gupta, CEO, Shine.com, and we have Saurabh Singla, Executive Vice President and CHRO Officer of Ecom Express with us. Both of them are very digitally native companies, but inherently, they have been operating in a gig environment. And to moderate this session, I'd like to invite Anand Dharup Ghosh, partner Deloitte, help us decode to gig or not to gig. If gig, how to gig. So over to you guys as speakers. Saurabh, welcome. Anand, welcome. And Akhil, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Shalil, and thanks both of you for joining in. I know we are probably running a bit late, so we'll try and keep to the time of 3:30 or so. So first of all, like Shalil introduced, I think the whole concept of gig is something that's been debated across the board. Everybody acknowledges the fact that gig is going to be potentially very big. And you two are very interestingly positioned in this entire discussion. I think what we wanted to do today in this conversation is, if it's okay with both of you, is we wanted to sort of go behind the screen a little bit to see that behind all the talk that's happening on gig, what do you see fundamentally are things that are changing that is making the gig economy more real? Or is it just a little bit more talk than is probably justified, perhaps? So one is what is the real story on this, and second thing that we want to be curious to understand is how does structurally what kind of things need to change for the gig economy to be more real for both employees and employers. And if you don't mind, I'm going to sort of bucket you both of you into two kinds of spectrums. Like Akhil, because you're with Shine, a recruitment and a learning platform, you are the sort of the supply side, and sort of you working with a company that employs, I'm guessing, a lot of gig workers. You're literally running the sort of e-commerce business for the country. You are more the demand side, if I will, and I'll sort of break the questions into those parts for both of you. Akhil, I'll start with you. I think from your perspective on the platform, on Shine, when people come in to look for jobs or look for training opportunities, what do you think is fundamentally changing? Are people becoming more open to the idea of looking at short-term freelance work, or is still the preference still to be a full-time employment?
Sure, Anandru. So I would say, gig economy is definitely picking up, right? But still, it's a growing trend, and very low percentage of job seekers are purely freelancers. So Shine essentially caters to white collars. So gig economy in itself is majorly around gray collars or blue collars as well as around white collars. So there's a difference. We are in fact seeing that job seekers majorly are seeking freelance opportunities in addition to permanent job. Okay. And this is mainly to do with earning something extra. Also, learning more new skills which are in trend. But pure freelance is low, I would say. It's in low percentages. Further, recent COVID events have further, flourished this trend because people are now working from home and they have more flexibility to manage their regular work as well as something to do with freelance. And further, if you see, let's say, the stage of working professionals, I would say that it's very prevalent in early stage professionals, but it's gaining momentum in mid to senior level people. I think this is more to do with the risk level of people as well, and the perception around the whole gig economy. That's how my take would be on this.
That's an interesting point. And Saurabh, I'll actually pick on that point and ask you about the fact that when you are hiring people, actually before that, I'll tell the audience as well that one of the participating companies actually had this interesting thing that they basically had this entire HR model which was aimed at allowing some of the gig workers to become full-time. In sort of, it's a way of saying that actually nobody wants to be gig. People want to be full-time. Gig is a... So do you see that happening? Because you are spanning both levels, right? You're looking at your absolute like blue or gray collar as well as maybe white collar workers in gig.
Sure. So, Anand, very, very interesting question that you asked. And, industry is still not settled on this entire thing. We talk about gig, but reality, as far as I look at it, number one, gig has been there forever in this country. If you talk about, and it was in unorganized sector mostly, the labor that works for a contractor, which you pick up from a field, or people who would go into the farmlands and work, that's all gig. That's not something which was organized sector or salaried people. At the same time, most of the people we've heard after retirement, they would get into projects. They would get into a contract or a project. That's also gig. Where we look at as Ecom Express is for us, requirement for us is every 40 kilometers across the country with almost about 3,200 offices and about 65,000 employees working right now. If I continue to only work on one model, which is a full-time employee, it doesn't work for me. So very clearly a business need came. And we've been learning from what's happening with the youngsters. This is Gen Z. The Gen Z is actually coming forward and saying, you know what, I don't want to be your employee. I'm not going to work for you on 9 to 6. I don't want to get into your training room. You tell me a job and I can do it. That's how the entire kind of gig model And then Ola, Uber, Zomato, Swiggy, I think great examples, the way they've kind of created this whole ecosystem where people have started thinking. We've been hiring gig workers across the country, and these people are almost already 15,000 in count, and now another 16,000 getting onboarded right now for the Diwali e-commerce season, which we're talking about. Do they shift across a gig to a full time or a full time to a gig? Well, what I've seen is places where the minimum wages are towards a very high end. People would prefer to be a full-time employee, and vice versa. However, in terms of their need to go to a gig or a on-roll is purely depending on are they getting the flexibility or the earning opportunity they kind of want to look at. What we believe is if you're able to give them sustained regular business and secure them, they don't want to shift to a full-time job at all. They would love to be a gig. A full-time employee in places like Delhi can earn about 16,000 rupees salary, because that's the minimum wage or a wage which is there. A gig biker for me can go up to about 45 to 50,000 rupees a month. Why would, if I'm one of them, why do I want to go into a full-time job where I need to come and punch attendance? I need to do so much more. I'm happy being a gig worker then. But if I'm not able to give them business and they see the protection on their financial intake is more on a salary base, they would of course want to do that.
No, that's an interesting point. But are you seeing this? And this is a question to both of you, perhaps. Are you seeing this migrate from a grey blue collar to white collar as well as in as much a speed as it is for your early stage professionals?
I'll quickly take a pick at it. So yeah. Sure. So look, in terms of blue collar, because the numbers are so huge, the way the country needs the bikers or the associates or the officers on the base roles, the count is much more, and it's easier adoption that's happening. Is where I kind of look at it. The moment you talk about somebody in a tech or a data science or a HR or a finance or I think or a C-suite role, which kind of everyone's continuing to question, will you hire a senior person on a gig as well? Well, the answer, and I keep talking to a lot of other corporates as well, the readiness or the investment in terms of tools and technology and cutting the work into packets, and that's still not happening. A gig work is not about employing somebody for continuous 6 months on a project. It's about a full flexibility on the hours or the packets of work. So is it happening as much in white collar? The answer is no. Will that happen? It's a clear industry need, and professionals eventually should graduate into experiencing multiple companies beyond consulting.
Akhil, are you seeing this as well on your platform?
See, not really from the platform perspective, but let's say purely from a professional standpoint. If I see this, or being a hiring manager myself, I think this is more to do with supply-demand gap that exists in the marketplace, and especially in the specialized and the skills where some quantitatively results can be ascertained. So let's say if we talk about, let's say, performance marketing, where someone is needed on a gig, let's say to design or run campaigns, right? So maybe, or let's say even technology architecture consulting, let's say, right? So there may be possibilities are there wherein companies are ready to hire white collar workers on gig as well. Okay? Because see, there is a possibility to ascertain that if we pay this much, we get this kind of output. So let's say with performance marketing, you can always determine that if you get this much revenue, you are paid this much, and in the process, you learn from his specialized skills. At the same time, your team is also learning alongside this gig guy. So this is how I see. Another thing which I see is this may be prevalent very much in the startup ecosystem. So being in startup ecosystem for so long, I have seen this, that most of the time, many early stage startups are short of funds, or not enough money to hire full-time workers on all the positions. So if you get good talent, you may hire them on a consulting basis, get the work done, and that's all. It's a win-win for both the guys. So that's how I see
Yeah.
this.
But I have on a slightly different note, and interestingly, when we looked at this study, for instance, as well, a lot of our participants actually showed an appreciation for the fact that they are creating policies for gig workers. But what we haven't seen yet is a lot of instances of mid-management talent being gig. And that's the gap that at least we still see. I mean, blue white collar, like one of you was saying, has been gig for a fairly long period of time, but more senior middle management and all becoming gig. That's something we're not seeing yet. And one of the things that I wonder is that this whole transition that's happening towards benefits, towards the, like for instance, even in platform workers who are demanding social security benefits, or the social security code that's coming into place. How will that change the dynamic? Do you think that's going to have an implication in terms of organizations looking at higher costs and therefore the attractiveness of gig going down?
Uh, so,
I
yeah.
Akhil, if you want to talk
So,
about, yeah.
so I'll talk on this. Okay? So see, I don't think so, to be honest. So if you take the case of let's say companies like maybe Zomato or Swiggy, who hired food delivery workers. So these companies have very well established consumer proposition, and that's convenience, right? And now with new social security code or obligations, even if they have to pay, let's say 4 to 5% extra uh, over their revenue, this should not be a big problem, because the proposition is very clear, and this cost can easily be passed on to onto the consumers. So let's say if we take case of Urban Clap, and a hairdresser who comes to my home to charge me, let's say, $150. If the question is, would I be okay to pay him, let's say, $165 tomorrow, or would I stop, would I stop hiring Urban Clap for this work? I think I'll still go ahead with this, because my main proposition, convenience and comfort, is still met. And this money is not so much that I'll go away. So I think this is how I'll take it. I think the bigger risk is not about the cost, but the bigger risk is about the compliances. Because as soon as you have social security code coming into the picture, what kind of legal compliances companies will get into? Let's say from the perspective of ease of employment and associated policies that come with all these things. Another challenge that I see is more on the government side, that what kind of clarity will get. So let's say a driver who is working both for Uber and Ola, how these benefits will be passed on to this worker, from both these companies. That is still not clear. I think that's how I would see this.
Very true, very true. Saurabh, anything from your end?
Yeah, I think Akhil has just picked up the note that I was going to just say. A gig worker doesn't work for one company. So it's actually, if we are trying to get into employment rules and everything, I mean, uh, rules are great, laws are great as far as they help the business to do business, a business house to do business. If I have an employee, if I have a gig worker who's working for two more companies, who's going to deposit the provident fund or the ESIC, or let's say the bonus? The other thing is, well, I employ almost like 65,000 people, which is I mean, we're still growing. There are companies who have got 2 lakh to 3 lakh to 4 lakh gig workers working for them. You increase the cost of salaries or this payout by 1%, it gives a huge dent into the profitability. We are burning money right now in this industry, most of us, right? When you're burning, you still have budgets. Eventually, this has to be passed on to the consumer, but will consumer take it is one. Secondly, who's a gig worker? For me, it's a Gen Z. The guy who, or the girl who wants to work for probably 2 hours in the morning or the evening or the afternoon. It is not a 10 hours job. It is not a 9 hours working. This person may want to work in the night, may want to work in the day. What if the person does not want to work after 2 days and wants to work after 2 months again? How would you contribute? Will the minimum wages apply to this? Will the Provident Fund minimum slabs apply to it? I'm very happy to get an accidental insurance or the basic insurance, because safety and security for the person, whether it's on employment or on gig. But it should become something which is not a good compromise between a new age working that's evolving, which is still not there, and the legacy processes that we have. To me, gig is as much like e-commerce and what's happening to the logistics industry, that it's disrupting itself. It's still not there. We have to let it bloom and let it evolve into a stage, after which we should put rules which will cover. But if somebody is earning 45,000 rupees, do you really think you need social security from the company? Or should we have schemes where the person, as an individual citizen of the country, maybe utilize things like PPF or the insurance schemes, which are abundant now in nature?
No, it's an interesting point that you've raised. I mean, both of you talked about the fact that multiple employers create a fundamental challenge in this entire construct. But like in every dynamic environment, anything, there is a disruption. There is a technology interface and a consulting interface that will come there to solve it. So I'm hoping that something of that will come about as well. But it was great to have both of you on this panel. And I think the important thing that I think that at least I'm taking away from this, and I'm hoping that's true of the audience as well, is that it's not a one-size-fits-all, not a simple thing to say gig is the future. There is a lot that yet needs to happen for gig to be a reality, and also, most importantly, a lot that needs to happen as we upscale in the management levels for gig to really happen. So thank you very much, both of you, for joining in, and we're very, very happy to have you both here, giving these two perspectives. Back to you, the Mint.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Shalil. Shalil, you're on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, Anand, thank you very much, Anand. You know, along with the Mint, I'm also Salil. No,
I didn't know who would come in.
No, my name is a little difficult as well. So as my father says that I'm a pretty difficult man that way. No, that's just okay. But you know, I must say, you know, there are two perspectives which have been brought in by the discussion. I think, Akhil, you brought in a perspective how people who are seeking the job are embracing the gig economy and the gig operating model. And Saurabh, you talked about, you know, it's even a 1% increase of the salary structure, etc., could dent the margin for e-commerce express kind of company. You really need to think about it, how the behavior of the consumer is going to change. And it's a valid thought process, and it's an evolving thought process. I think government has to play a very, very important role to drive that thing. So one side of the coin is how government is helping, innovating around skill set and all of that. And the other side of the coin is the platforms which are automating this piece, I think. So thank you very much for joining us today, Saurav and Akhil. It's an honor to have you on the platform today.
Thank you so much, Shalil.
Thanks, Shalil. Thanks, Saurav.
Thank you very
much.
Akhil. Thanks. Thank you.
So, friends, we are actually on the next session, and it's a very interesting session. It's called Fireside Chat. I don't know why we call it Fireside Chat. I think in India we should start calling it Iceberg Chat. But like I said, the one side of the coin is where government helping upskilling people to join the gig economy. On the other side, it's the platform which is helping us to automate it. And I think we have our next speaker. You know, before I invite, let me introduce to him. Yeah, he's 17 years of experience of providing technology-powered talent transformation roadmaps to enable business impact at global scale, integrated transformation roadmaps for technology organization to scale and sustain across geographies. His areas of expertise cover the entire spectrum of organization management, from direction setting to M&A advisory and talent management to employee experience and led digital transformation. Prior to Darwin Box, Vijay Shankar worked with EY as director, where he led people consulting for tech sector and was the core talent and change lead for integrated transformation. And Accelerate Jamshedpur alumnus, please give him a very big hand to join us on the platform today.
Namaste, and thank you so much for having me here, Shalil, and all of the esteemed delegates of this conference. Let me just start by saying it's a significant deja vu, not just for me but our entire family. In one sense, Shalil, before we get into the business end of things, because my grandfather worked with the Hindustan Times for 28 years.
My God.
So he started as an apprentice analyst in 1950, and in the commerce section. So it's even more coincidental that Mint is behind this event in terms of how that's evolved. So it was interesting deja vu talking to folks at home that there is a reconnect of sorts.
No, Vijay. I think what you shared with us is amazing to hear, and as you can see, we traveled. HT Media has traveled years and decades of journey across, representing it on the media platform through insights, journalism, and so and so. I'm sure your grandfather would be very proud, and so are we actually, and I'm very very pleased to hear this from you guys. In fact, good to have you, man. I think, like I said, I want to have a more of an iceberg check than actually a fireside chat, frankly speaking. India temperature amounts to iceberg chat. I don't have many questions for you, Vijay. Frankly speaking, there are two sides which I want to talk about. Right, one, many people have heard about Darwin-Box. They have been using. You have customers today, and frankly speaking, most of the time I've been hearing the yesterday stories. Okay, as you saw in the sessions, people are still reacting to it. They're building on it. But Darwin-Box has been way ahead in thinking as well. Okay, so what I call it is Darwin-Box not being thought through from yesterday perspective, but from tomorrow's perspective, right? How are you making it happen today, thinking about tomorrow? I think that's the key insight I want, Vijay, you to bring it out, because it's very important. It's difficult task, thinking about tomorrow and bringing it today is out of the box, man. And Darwin-Box is a box, actually, let me tell you. So let's build on that. Over to you, Vijay.
So, Shalil, the genesis starting from 20th November 2015, when we were incorporated, we'd like to think of ourselves as Destiny's Child. At the time when we started, quite similar to a lot of the quotes you would have heard associated with Girish Mathrubootham at the time of the Fresh Desk IPO. A lot of people had doubts, saying, "You're going to be another Me Too. There are so many established players out there. This is a crowded space," and so on and so forth. But I think from the outset, I think three things really came to the fore. One, we had a dream of saying that why do we only have to rely on global products to serve customers in India and the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia in general, because we know that in many cases it's becoming a bit of a challenge and a force fit, right? Those global products have been fundamentally designed for the DNA of the companies which have been incorporated in those geographies. So that was one. So there was a bit of a hegemony and a longing to say, why can't we have something which is made in India for the world, which solves for our problems, solves for our reality. So it started from, I think, there. And that's what I think in many ways keeps us going even today as we plan for tomorrow. The second thing was we had choices of saying, it's good to talk about employee experience, but back in 2015, while this was being discussed, it was not a very tangible concept. So I think a lot of thought went into what this could mean in tangible terms. And one part of it was to take an end-to-end view rather than a siloed, fragmented view of one part of the HR lifecycle, saying, unless we are able to solve for the entire lifecycle, we will have a disintegrated approach to employee experience. So I think that was the second. The third was to fairly early invest into things which were ahead of the time and sort of represent our DNA of being a pioneer come fast trend adopter. One was mobile first, and the second was to invest in security of industry grade and consumer grade at that time. And with this, our attempt was to say, why does the employee experience not replicate the consumer experience that an Uber, an Ola, or Swiggy, or a Zomato started giving to us a few years ago, right? So that was really what started it off. We then realized that as an extension of the employee experience, it's not just about the HR touch points, right? its touch points beyond HR as well, for which we needed extensibility. We needed the ability to integrate, coexist with some of the other systems of record, as well as good, strong third-party applications which came with their own power capabilities, right? So what you'll see is we've sought to stay ahead of the curve on some pieces. And because of the fact that the architecture in its sense was microservices based and very, very modular, we've been able to be very responsive and almost hyper responsive in terms of how we've driven a trend spotting, a trend catching, and then a trend leapfrogging of sorts. So I think it's all of it, of course, is centered around one thing, and that is impact for the customer. So that's really what we believe are certain foundational things which have held us in good stead as we've reached 600 plus clients, 1.35 to 1.4 million employees on our platform, and about 100,000 of them being served in over 90 countries. So some good milestones for us, but it's all about making sure that we continue to stay relevant for the customer.
Vijay, it's a fantastic story. I know it proves, I really like, mobile first movement, 2 releases a month, end-to-end touch points. It's tomorrow's thinking. It's not today's thinking. I think it's tomorrow's workforce. I mean, like I said in the previous session, gig operating model cannot operate until there is an automation platform such as Darwinbox which exists there. Last 18 months have been a very difficult scenario for most of us, right? From a pandemic perspective, it has disrupted every piece of work style, every piece of workplace, and the workforce itself. And that's why, as you know, we have kept W3 Conclave as 3 Ws which are impacting largely. Earlier it was more known as WWW, and today it's WWW, which means something different, and it's a web of people across the board. Now, I'm sure Darwinbox would have also thought through, how are they impacting the 3 Ws? Okay, what's the way you are thinking today, and the impact you have brought into your customers from a workplace and workforce perspective? If you can throw some insights on that, would be great.
I think it's, first of all, it's very, very noteworthy that you have taken this 3W approach, because going back to good old set theory in school, these 3 are in turn actually influencing each other, but there are also some clear A intersection, B intersection C, for lack of a better way of putting it, where we are finding spaces of value for all the consumers involved. So part of our approach has been to try and capture those spaces. And part of it is to take note of how each of these are influencing the other, right? So let me just let me just go through each of them and then try and bring it together. In terms of work, which is the first of the 3 Ws as you've called it out, what are some of the key what are some of the key imperatives? One, there's been a very blurring delineation of the kind of boundary between work and home in this period, right? What you could do, how much you could do, has got called into question. There's the entire concept of remotability around work. So if we go back to how job descriptions are now going to start getting written, how a job evaluation may start getting conducted in HR terms, the extent to which a job is remotable or can be done remotely, to what extent, will automatically, in fact, start informing the way we look at job descriptions. In some cases, there may even be call-outs of certain parts of the job which can only be done in office, and creating new roles as well, right? So in that sense, the nature of work is somewhere changing. Research has shown that a lot more candidates today want to understand what is the remotability footprint in the jobs that they can potentially apply for. And that's becoming, in many cases, part of the employer brand as well, saying how much of a hybrid readiness are you able to show. So all of this, I think, has seen a bit of a tectonic shift the last 18 months, as you called out. And from a Darwinbox perspective, the fact that we're able to blend our approach to very configurable job descriptions, connected to recruitment, connected to very different approaches to onboarding, by which things can be done virtually, on the go, and a lot more of the processes such as continuous feedback. Another important consideration, as you'll appreciate, is the elements of wellness. So the integrations that we've created with employee assistance providers to make the work realities come through, as a result of how we track productivity through productivity tool integrations, employee assistance program, and related tool integrations. These are some of the things that we have looked at. And the other element of work is, of course, workforce planning, right? Because now the way you look at allocations of people, the shift rostering, keeping in mind people who are going to be working from home or working from office or other options. All of these are also considerations that we've been able to solve for and saw huge uptake in the course of the pandemic, because we were able to enable it through time and attendance in a dynamic pace, including, for example, facial recognition based clock-ins of attendance rather than the conventional biometric, because we needed touchless approaches to attendance, right? So these have been some of the elements as we see it on work itself. When it comes to the workplace, I think phygital is obviously the way forward in terms of physical plus digital. But then what does it mean in terms of also responding to what a workplace was supposed to enable, right? Recent research reports, which covered about 60,000 employees of Microsoft, brought out a risk of this model that potentially collaboration and innovation could get harmed as a result of this approach, while day-to-day or repetitive recurring tasks which do not involve too much collaboration could continue. So through platform components such as our own synthesis of a LinkedIn plus Facebook, which we call Vibe, we're able to enable that much more active collaboration at any level, whether it's a work group, whether it's a team, whether it's a unit, whether it's a geography, cross geography. So we are able to enable that multilateral collaboration, and also actively looking at integrations with some of the standard collaboration tools like Teams, etc. So our idea is to also see how we can replicate the benefits of a digital workplace, because people who are also looking at offices now are saying offices have to essentially serve the purpose of collaboration hubs. Otherwise, what people can do on their own can anyway continue. So how can we then blend in elements of reward and recognition to build the right levels of vibe, motivation, connect, right? And the employee pulse for employee listening. So these are all elements that we have sort of emphasized and seen again a large uptake from a workplace perspective. The last part is on the workforce piece, right? And I think you spoke about giggers and so on. And I think the consideration now is multicultural, multi-location, and multi-type, right? You could have, and what I'm also very happy to see personally is that along with this entire shift is a heightened focus on DEI in terms of diversity, inclusiveness, and so on. So we are having far more breadth and variety in the segments of the workforce that you have to work with. Now, what does this call for? This fundamentally calls for fluidity in terms of working with a right mix of certain standard frameworks around policies, processes, workflows, and certain elements, and the ability to parallelly have flexibility. So you need what we call disciplined flexibility. You need a method for people to be able to decide where they want flexibility, where's the business case for it, and at the same time provide adequate ability to actually create. For example, 3-4 years ago is when a large shift happened where the IT industry moved towards interns versus full timers for the fresher population. Now, what is the process and the approach that you need for interns versus full-time employees, which you will hire off campus, right? So how many personas can you solve for? And how easy is it for you to manage and administer this through the front end? And that's where I think we have been able to work through front-end configuration versus back-end customization coding, because we are a no-code platform. So I think this is a massive piece of how we are able to straddle huge varieties of an employee diaspora as we go along. And the other consideration of the workforce is, because of this hybrid approach, the endpoint security considerations, data privacy becomes so important. And that's where the fact that we are SOC 1, SOC 2 compliant, very strong on GDPR from day one, in some sense, helps us ensure the ability to manage those risks. So in a nutshell, I hope I've been able to communicate how we are helping enable the WWW.
No, Vijay. I think I see it as a three vertices of a triangle. Work, workplace, and workforce. And the way you have explained is that Darwinbox sits in the center of that triangle and connecting all the three together. Now, if I fit this into a manufacturing, the physical proximity versus remote enablement, both need to be there. But if I look at knowledge workers, like companies like PwC, Deloitte, they are spread across geographies and continents and cultures, and can be brought in together. But the principles remain the same. How do we bring all that together? There is no doubt, Vijay, that it's an emergence of a hybrid organization which is going to go forward. Not only in India, but globally, people have recognized this. The jury still need to be out about what do we do about collaboration, innovation, and the social structure being broken down. I heard, I think, Google CEO talking about we are facing this challenge, but we will come out resilient and much anti-fragile. That's how we will come out. In fact, I know time is always short, Vijay. I would continue to discuss all of that, what innovation you're bringing. But I think, like I said, you truly belong for tomorrow, not for today. You're bringing tomorrow into today and helping not only as you started. It's not a CHRO function itself. I think it's much beyond now. The whole function will change and rethink and reinvent, and the backbone could be actually Darwin-Box. So thank you for that, Vijay, for being with us today. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to have you, and thanks to your grandfather as well for being with us for such a long period of time.
Thank you so much. Pleasure, and thank you for having me.
No, it is my honor. It is my pleasure as well.
Thank you.
Great, guys. I think the agenda has been so exciting that I can't get out of the room, believe me. And session after session, we have been talking about something which is new happening. The whole W3 is coming so live in front of us, talking and listening to the CHROs, talking and listening to Vijay from a Darwin-Box and others like Mind Trickle Perspective. It's time for the next set of awards, guys. And I think it's very important perspective. First of all, to give these awards, I would like to invite the prominent person who actually helped us conceptualize Mint W3 Champions 2021. Would like to introduce our editor-in-chief for Mint, SK. It is a second stint for SK in Mint, as he was part of Mint's founding team when the paper was actually launched in 2007. And subsequently also as its media reporter. SK has experience across print, digital, and has been at the helm of publications like ET Magazine, India editions of HuffPost, and Quartz. He also worked at Apple Incorporation as India's App Store editor. SK, thank you very much for joining and helping us, giving these awards. You want to say something before we start announcing it?
Nothing at all, Shalil. Thank you for having me, and very, very pleased to see this event that we started talking about and discussing really come alive, and the kind of thought leadership that I've seen being associated with this event over the day, quite phenomenal. I got the opportunity to also witness the jury deliberation, so I know how intensely contested were these awards, and I know that the people who have won today have real reasons to be proud. So congratulations to all of you and all the winners indeed. That's really all from my side.
Brilliant. As you saw in the large enterprises, we had a wonderful organization, Indian Bank, Infosys, L&T. I think the categories we are now touching is medium enterprises, SK. And as usually for each of these segments, we have got 3 awards. Future of Work Disruptor, Future of Workforce Disruptor, and Future of Workplace Disruptor. Okay. With your permission, I should go ahead and announce the winners actually. And I hope winners are with us today. The first award in this category is for the Future of Work Disruptor. I would like to invite Tanushri Ray, Head of HR, Shadowfax Technologies Private Limited, as the winning team, as the winning organization. So many congratulations, Tanushri Ray. I think revisited operating model for operations, agile and smaller teams. And one of the best thing is CSAT moved from calling mechanism to drive measurement to digital platform, which is a great way to look at it. There is a separate use case you find on a CSAT perspective. So many congrats from my side, Tanushri Ray.
Thank you so much, Shalil. And this is just an amazing moment. When I, read the mailer, I mean, I was literally flying here and there. But I mean, this is just an, amazing, amazing moment. And I'm really extremely gratified for this award. And I would like to, appreciate the entire members of the jury for choosing, Shadowfax as the future of the work disruptor for this year and showing a great respect for us. Thank you so much again for this, and definitely, it's a biggest honor for the entire team for us, and I would like to, probably appreciate the entire team of Shadowfax who has supported us, making this company to attend this overwhelming success for the past few years. Whatever we have done, whatever we have, moved from the traditional way of doing so to the movement of the technology at this particular period of time. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, Tanushree, and everyone at Shadowfax. I can tell you that during the jury deliberations, this was one company that attracted a lot of attention. So that your work it was discussed quite a bit at length. So congratulations, and look forward to where you guys go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanushree, for many congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. The second award in this category for the future of workforce disruptor. I think the winner is Amit Prakash, CHRO officer, Marico Limited. We should have Amit with us. Very good. Welcome, Amit. Many congrats. Partnered with gig platforms for specific skill sets, focused on enhancing skills of talent around leading in virtual teams, agile working, resilience, and crisis management, creating high performance teams and inner engineering. Many congrats, Amit, to you.
Thank you, Sohail. Thank you. It's a pleasure, and I think so. It is just a reinforcement about the Marico belief and ethos that we totally live by every day. And I think so. During this pandemic, one thing that we have realized is that crisis can come and hit you at any point of time. It's your culture and ethos and the belief that you want to always grow and develop the future of the organization is something which continuously takes you ahead. And thanks to the jury, thanks to all of you, Sahil and Shruti. And I think so the biggest thanks is to the leaders and members of this organization who continuously participate and take the organization ahead. So thanks a ton. It's a pleasure.
Congratulations, Amit.
Thank you.
Tremendous stuff. A large company, going through logistically complex times, and I think rightly your work has been recognized. Congratulations.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Many congrats, Amit. Celebrations should be on the way. So in this category, the last announcement, I think, is the future of workplace disruptor. And I would like to invite Mrs. Partha Kher, Associate Vice President, Head Human Resources for Airworks, for winning this award. Many congrats. We have Partha Kher. Hi, many congrats to you. Let me talk about you guys first. Digital ways of working to adopt aspects of engineering and maintenance operating model, MRO operations, facilitating employee access via digital tools such as Zimbra, via XNet, etc. At the hangar, workstations have been made available right on the floor itself rather than going back to office. All of this in an MRO function, which is so critical. In fact, many congrats. A tremendous job done at your end.
Thank you so much. I feel privileged and honored for Airworks to be recognized on this forum and to accept this award on behalf of everyone at Airworks. It's indeed a special moment for all of us, since this very first HR award highlights that even B2B organizations like Airworks, they are in sync with the prevailing HR trends. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Airworks MD and CEO, Mr. D. Anand Bhaskar, who himself is an employee champion and he constantly inspires us. And my fellow colleague and our CIO, Mr. Ramkumar Mohan, for his contributions in facilitating the workplace transformation. Thanks are also due to my very dear Airworks family, who are ambassadors of our values. And as also to all of you, the organizers, Mint, Deloitte, Shine, and others, and our very eminent jury for creating a platform that enables growing B2B organizations such as Airworks for highlighting its work. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Prarthana, to you and to everybody at Airworks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So SK, I'm moving to the next category, which is emerging enterprises, in fact, and be with us. We have two awards to be given there. I think, unfortunately, we could not find a suitable candidate in the emerging enterprises as workplace, but we could find two of them. So future of work disruptor and future of workforce disruptor. I think we talk about that. Let me take your permission to go ahead.
Let's do it.
Okay. The first award in this category, the future of work disruptor. Many congrats to Mahesh Jera, Group CHRO, Rustamji. It's as you know, SK, we have been discussing about this company a lot in the jury deliberation. Do we have Rustamji? Okay, we have it. Let me talk about them as well. Taken initiatives to digitize all customer touchpoints through telepresence, virtual walkthroughs, and the virtual reality and bots have significantly invested and transitioned to a digital business, which were unique to real estate. Building information modeling allows architecture teams to design virtually. A tremendous job done by Rustamji company. And Mahesh, many congratulations for being with us. There seems to be a technical glitch while everything is virtual.
Yeah, I think he's very much with us, but probably suffering as we all.
He has
do from
lost
time
the
to time.
connection. Yes, he had lost the connection. Let's move on.
Yeah. Wait, I'm continuing to the next one, and if he's there, then we'll have him to talk about.
Sure.
Okay, so let me announce the second award in this category, which is the Future of Workforce Disruptor. Arijit Sen Gupta, Director Human Resources India and NC Bacardi India Private Limited. The splits are always high. Many congratulations, Arijit Sen Gupta. As I always say, Bacardi is a favorite for most of the 99% of the public here. But for me as well, the splits are always high. Let me talk about you guys. Repurposed roles based on reduction in volumes in certain business units. Tech-based resources such as Bacardi Assistant, keeping my balance, my work-life fit, assistant wellness, and etc. I think, Arijit, many congratulations for winning this award. Have we again lost him?
We lost the connection. He lost the connection. I think. Let me just.
Okay.
Mahesh, we have Mahesh here with us.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry. Hi.
Hi,
sorry,
Mahesh.
I think there was a glitch. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mint, for this amazing. In fact, I must congratulate. This is perhaps the most innovative set of awards that we have come across. in these times, and perhaps the most desired one, and such an
There is network glitch
yes,
over.
yes. Why don't we just next slot when we announce the next segment? We may invite both Mahesh and just work in the background with them.
Sure. Let's continue.
Okay. So, let's get thank you first of all very much for joining us for the announcing this award. If it has been helpful, I will carry on with my W3 Conclave. Thank you for joining us for announcing the awards.
Delighted to be here, Shalil. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so we are back to our last W3 Conclave. Please forget about CHRO 2021. Please feel to know as much as you get to it at your end. Let's continue discussing the last discussion we had with Vijay about Darwin's points. We were talking about how Darwin was in the center of all the in fact. Now, if you look at it, limits debates today was Can you hear me? If I am just checking, there was some glitch technically. Wait, can I continue?
Yes, sir. Continue. Please continue. There was some glitch. Yes.
Okay, good guys. I think the driving diversity and inclusion in a remote workforce is one of the big agendas today. And I think you saw the jury's still out about collaboration, innovation. How do we bring inclusive culture? The social structure was there earlier is now slowly realizing that we really need a balance of that. And it's a debate. Let's have a discussion, thorough discussion on it. And for that, I would like to invite panelist speakers, Manu Vadhva, Global Business Executive Board Member, CHRO, Sony Pictures Network. We have Krishna Raghavan, Chief People Officer, Flipkart. Amit Prakash, CHRO, Marico Limited. And the very own moderator from an HT perspective is Paras with us, Paras Kaushik, our CHRO, who would be actually not. Please give them a warm welcome. And I'm going to hand over the stage to Paras as well.
Thank you. I hope audio.
Paras, voice is not a good connection, I think.
Better?
No, you are not on a good. Your voice is breaking. Amit, you are able to hear me, right?
I can hear you, sir.
I think
Paras
you're
is
also
actually frozen right now.
Yeah, Paras is frozen. Krishna is still joining. Wait, can you help Paras with?
Yeah, allow me a minute. I'm just sorting that out. Yeah.
Sure. I think we also have a problem at Krishna end as well. If you can help Krishna as well to join. Do we have Manu with us?
Not yet. We don't have Manu.
Yeah.
Just give us a second. We are sorting that out.
Yep,
There was
sure.
some.
So Amit, congratulations, man. I think I must say, while we are sorting it out, what was your feeling when you heard the award goes to you guys?
It's always a pleasure, Sahil, to get an award, to be very frank. And I think so the last 18 months has been a huge learning. If you ask me, it's almost like personally, it has accelerated me by at least 5 to 6 years. The crisis has led to, at least at a personal level, a lot of I would say style change,
Yeah.
realizations. Because and technically we come from a brick and mortar industry. Yeah?
True.
So the
True.
belief is always about being present, and that's the biggest
We have
thing.
Mr. Gera and Mr. Rajit Sen Gupta also as a winner. They both were winners. I'm just adding them here to keep the conversation on.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, hi Mahesh, hi Arijit.
Hi,
Technical.
thank you very much. My apologies. I think there was a technical glitch, so I missed out on the event, but it's great to be here. Thank you very much. And please continue. I don't know. I think we missed the timeline, but we are on. That's a
No, no,
pleasure.
Hi
no. I
everyone.
think, yeah. Hi Arijit. I think first of all three of you are the winners, guys. Many congratulations from my side. I'm sure the next panelists are joining as we speak. But I was asking Amit a question, and it's a very pertinent question, like, frankly speaking, is how is the pressure? How is the Josh, guys?
So
Josh is
the
high.
Josh is
Pressure is
always
high.
Sahil internal, and I think so that's the core to HR, that your entire Josh comes from within you, and that is what keeps us chugging on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Paras is my CHRO, and he says that I never felt such pressure like I'm feeling it today, and he'll share it in a moment. But Arijit, over to you.
Yeah, spirits are high, and I think it's like human spirit which has come to the forefront in the last 18 months. We never imagined that we will go through such a kind of a situation before. There was no playbook, there was no learning from before. So we just adapted. And it's not about just HR or the people who are working in HR function, it's about the people itself. And everybody faced those challenges in their personal lives. Individually, they could not do what they could have done otherwise in terms of medical attention, in terms of other situations. So I think this is about the human spirits and everybody coming together and creating a path forward. That was just amazing, and I completely agree with Amit. I mean, we have all grown in terms of physical age, in terms of what we have seen, and it's just amazing, and it just shows about human resilience.
So, no, frankly speaking, we have come out more resilient, I think, and economy is actually showing those signs. We have bounced back much faster than expected. Any of economists who said, I think India as an economy, consumption patterns have bounced back much faster. We are much better and ready today for even if the third wave hits us. I think we learned from first and second, and we get got prepared on that side. And frankly speaking, I would really appreciate all the CHROs of the India and corporation who actually made it happen. You people turn around it, adapted yourself, create more resiliency organization, and still let the organization function. So the show should not stop. I think that was happening. But many congratulations to all three of you. Arijit Sen and Mahesh. Both. I think SK was there when we were announcing your award, but technical glitches
Thank
are
you.
technical glitches.
Thank you so much, Shalil. It's a pleasure being here in the first place and in such august company. And I think you rightly said, and Arijit rightly said, I think that year gone by has been the year of testing spirits, testing values, testing everything in innovation that you could, and the way people have bounced back right up to each employee in the value chain. I think everyone was adding value to the customer experience. So tremendous experience, and I must also congratulate the team which has gone behind the brains behind this event. When I was going through the details in the nomination form, it was amazing to see the kind of things that were getting captured. So must really, I missed out the bus earlier. Must thank the visionary leadership in our management, as well as rightly said by Arijit, it was never limited to any one employee. Each vertical leader, and including whether it was your CIO or your CSO or your directors or the execution team, especially in our business, which is a brick and mortar business, implementing some of those initiatives were never heard of, and top it up with some human initiatives which have really added tremendous value to our customer experience. And we look forward to it. Loads more ahead. Thank you very much. for inviting us over and for this beautiful, wonderful experience and wonderful acknowledgement. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you, Arijit, for joining us. If I may ask with your permission, you can actually leave. Amit, you should stay. We have Paras with us, and I'm hoping the other panelists are also going to join us.
Hi, Paris. Hi, Manu.
Hi, Amit, and congratulations to you.
My apologies, guys, for the technical glitch. I'm going to leave the stage to Paras.
Thank you, and thank you. And now we have slightly less time on this very interesting subject. Get straight to it. We've got some stalwarts here who have made DNI integrate with their business strategy. And I think we have a lot to learn from them. So let me just shoot out the questions. And Amit, Krishna, Manu, in whichever order, please take on those questions. All right. So the first one, especially DNI in the remote work setting. When we look at DNI in this virtual way of working, we see that the organization and leaders, they need to demonstrate very high vulnerability and empathy, right? It was really tough when they were in the offices to get that done. Imagine getting it done virtually. And this demonstration of vulnerability and empathy is where team members should feel comfortable and open and vulnerable, share more of themselves, learn how to support each other, right? In this virtual world, how are you putting all of this in action? That's the first
Paras,
question that I
yeah,
have.
sure. So, Paras, if I may just start, Krishna and Manu, if it's okay. So, what we did early on, Paras, we used two very distinct anchors. One, we ensured that, and we over anchored ourselves on communication. And that is where we requested all the leaders to start sharing their personal challenges that they are facing. So, the last 15 to 20 minutes of all the town halls, let it be the CEO, let it be the CHRO, let it be the CMO, everybody, we used to just spend talking about the challenges that we are facing. Somebody was cooking, somebody was finding a stress with kids study, but we ensured that the vulnerability was totally in open. And that was our biggest anchor of learning. The other big, I would say, change that we made was we actually trained the top 100 leaders in the organization on two very distinct aspects: supportive coaching and as wellness coaches, and we termed it as leaders as coaches. And we ran this initiative for the last 18 months. It is working brilliantly because, see, when the employees are facing challenges in their life, or they are being stressed out with work, one person who is the most aware of such challenges is the supervisor. The person is the closest to the employee. So anybody, if they can make sense out of the stress or well-being issue, it is the supervisor. So we actually invested quite a bit of time to actually train our leaders, and then we gave them tools to identify what are the kind of issues which are happening, and we actually give them further, I would say, help related issues. We have one-to-one help, and that's how we kind of constructed the entire vulnerability and well-being together for people to thrive in Marico for the last 18 to 24 months for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit.
Cool. Can I
Manu?
take the next, Paras?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm talking through a mobile phone. I think some problem with my laptop today. Just the tech gods aren't happy. So I'll actually build upon what Amit said. I think first of all, for us, actually, this aspect around vulnerability and empathy is something I would actually go even beyond the pandemic per se. I think it's something that I think is very at the center of how we define leadership within Flipkart. First of all, just to give you an example, all leaders who actually join Flipkart, within the first 90 days, we do actually an NLA for them, a new leader assimilation program. And at the end of the program, the actual team that they're part of actually gives feedback directly to them. And they build upon this feedback, and they actually build out a individual development plan and share it back with the team. So they in fact close the loop. I think that's probably one of the best ways I have seen personally, where the leader in question actually exhibits a great degree of vulnerability of how they showed up in, and they could have played several roles in their career. They could have had a decorated career, doesn't matter. But in a new context, as they arrive, it's very important for them to embrace vulnerability. I think this is something that we've been constantly doing, not just in the pandemic, but before that as well. The second one, which I'll actually just talk about, is this aspect around self-awareness. As part of all our leadership programs, starting at the manager level, we lay a great emphasis on self-awareness. And for us, it's very important because as I think about a human being at the core, your learning starts with being aware. So this aspect around how am I vulnerable in front of my team or my peers starts with me becoming aware of myself, my potential blind spots, and then how do I actually work on them in a group setting, right? So that's something that we do a lot. And lastly, around empathy, I'd like to say this, that as Amit mentioned, your experience as an employee is a function of your manager, a great amount of it, in fact. Therefore, putting a lot of emphasis on, in the pandemic, on a program called Coach with Compassion for all our managers to be able to detect and even sort of empathize with employees who may be potentially facing a burnout, maybe having a personal challenge that they're coping with in the pandemic. This became paramount for us. So the Coach with Compassion program got rolled out to all our managers during the pandemic. And that's something that we've been investing in quite a bit. Those are the three things that we did, Paras. Back to you.
And to Manu.
So I'll add to the nuggets which Amit and Krishna have already imparted. Primarily for us, for leaders to demonstrate vulnerability and empathy, we specifically, during the pandemic, coined a program called LEAP, which is Leadership Engagement Amplification Program. The primary effort or the genesis started from exactly the point which you stated, Paras, that during these times, if the leaders do not show their vulnerability and they lead from the front, it's very difficult to actually engage the workforce in handling a challenge which did not have a playbook, which did not have a history to tackle. So in this engagement effort, LEAP, we had variety of pitch stops that were created. Each of the leadership team members, including the CEO themselves, rolled out concepts like Dear Diary, My Vulnerable Moments, rolled out fireside chats in which employees got to know the fun side of the leaders. We had videographs wherein the leaders would send pictures of them washing dishes, and at the same time, somebody else cuddling their baby and doing things which were very natural for every employee, just to tell them that I'm in this as much as you are. So many of these things, apart from very standard formats like over communicating, as Amit stated, advancing our efforts on leaders becoming coaches during this time as compared to their standard roles of being supervisors, are some of the things that were an effort. And I think it's received enormous amount of love, if I can say, from employees because they've seen those vulnerable moments from the leaders.
Amazing, amazing. So over communication, leadership as coaches, new leader assimilation programs where IDPs are created, self-awareness programs, coaching with compassion, and leadership engagement and amplification program. Those are some amazing inputs that you're giving us. Thank you very much. I'll move to the next part of this DNI in remote setting. You see, in the time when we see a lot of network individualism, how should an organization make time for structured remote building and networking, where you can create space for connection as a substitute for in-person impromptu engagement? Do you have some tips or cheat sheet or kind of a toolkit for that?
I can
And
take
this
this
time
one
we can
on.
go. Yes, absolutely. We'll start with Manu, go to Krishna, and then Amit.
We go the reverse order. I think in
Yes.
this particular one, I would start with one guidance to all our listeners out there, that focus on governance. While the concept is impromptu, but in a virtual format, if it's not in your calendar, it will not happen. And let's accept that fact that the virtual workplaces are centered around the calendar spaces. So, a couple of things that I can share as examples, which are very simple to do, but it helped us primarily because of the depth and strength of governance we put behind it. was simple things like chai coffee evenings. Every Wednesday evening, 6 to 7 p.m., a team will have a chai coffee evening. You don't have any agenda to talk about. You just get your own cup of tea and you just talk about what's happening in life, what's happening at your work. Concepts wherein leaders engaged in impromptu conversations, which were literally coffee chats, let's get talking, many others, actually enabled even leaders to find those vulnerable moments with their workforce. And we also ensured that specifically the leadership team cross pollinated this informal engagement. The third one, which I truly realized the benefit of personally, again, going back to the tenet of governance, but truly making time out to have that informal call being given to somebody on their milestone, a birthday, an anniversary, a work anniversary, a child's birthday. These are very simple things to do. And even if you take out a morning walk time or an evening jog time, it will take less than 2 minutes for you to give a call to that employee and say, Happy birthday. And we ensured that leaders imparted this element of engagement in their calendars by governance. So that it's an as simple thing that you have all your team members, critical events in the day, you just find that 2 minutes to do it. So for us, it was as simple as following it through governance, but making those impromptu moments count for everyone.
Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, Manu, for sharing those insights. I won't repeat. I think definitely some of the things that we did around informal connects, I think coffee connects. And one thing that very basic that I would want to say is bandwidth permitting. I think we encourage people to keep their videos on. It's very impersonal at times, and it's been the case for the last 18 months where you're a part of a meeting and you don't see faces. It takes away the very essence of a human connection. And we've obviously, there are constraints at play, but we've always encouraged across the company to keep videos on, and the leaders role model that to a great extent possible as well. The other aspect I would want to talk about is it's important to not treat every employee in the same way. There are points in time where a new employee joins us or a new leader comes into a team. Particularly in a remote work scenario, they need to feel connected to the team. So what we've done, and safety and wellness is obviously paramount, but as the pandemic has weaned down a little bit and we are looking at optimistically moving forward, we have encouraged also at times teams to come together on specific occasions to be able to actually get to know one another, right? And there could be common places, common meeting places, or even at the workspace. When there's a project kickoff happening and there's a great amount of collaboration needed, there are these specific use cases that you need to be mindful as well, where there is no replacement per se. I believe in that there is no replacement for in-person interaction. So as and when permitting, we've encouraged that as well. The other aspect, at least the biggest takeaway for me, at least personally, has been even within HR as a function at Flipkart, is to be able to actually establish the purpose of your work a lot more strongly. When you are in a sort of a remote work scenario, the aspect of what does your work mean to the larger, bigger picture at times can get lost. You don't have those hallway conversations, you don't have those corridor conversations anymore. So, therefore, constantly communicating the purpose of your work becomes the biggest motivator and engager, I would say, for employees in a remote working scenario. Those would be mine. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Manu. Paras, I'll keep it very short. So essentially, broadly the same points, but I think so. One of the core pivots or the core principles that we have followed is to develop emotional intelligence along with the artificial intelligence, and create a sense of balance in the entire system as we do both. Okay. So essentially, three very critical pieces that we drove. One was connect, the other was congratulate, and the third was care. And you heard all aspects there. What we tried doing very differentially here was that connect, we also drove with the family members. We used to ensure that if there are game sessions which are happening, the family members are participating there. If there's a yoga session happening, the family members are a part of it. So the involvement was very much higher. Okay. when we were congratulating or let's say recognizing people, and actually we spiked recognition because there was no other way of connecting and saying, okay, you did something very good. Because everything that you do in crisis is something which is innovative, however small it might be. Yeah? And it was very important to continuously communicate around that. We majorly involve the family members around the congratulation or the recognition, and that is where the pride of the organization and being with the organization and the feeling for the organization is spiked. And the care piece, which is around what's happening in COVID, why vaccination, if there are challenges, any doctor session, anything that we were doing, family was always an integral part. And that's how we tried creating the entire feeling of team, being a part of the organization, and that the organization is actually caring about it. And that was the biggest pivot for the organization. Paras, you're on mute, sorry.
Very beautifully put. Connect, congratulate, and care. And that is the three most important things when you need. Right. I know we have only 5 minutes left. So for this question, I would request a short, sharp answer. Uh, You see, to push the DNI agenda, leaders across levels should harness the power of their team's diverse perspectives and to enhance performance, especially in virtual meetings. How can an organization build diverse perspectives to encourage greater participation in a virtual world?
Do you want
You
to
want
go,
to take that?
Randy?
Krishna, we are waiting for you to go first.
Okay. Sorry, should I go first, Amit, or? Okay, great. So, yeah, I think in a virtual setting, it becomes a lot more, I would say, difficult just to be very conscious about inclusion. The first thing that I just very crisp one point, if I had to table, is that you have to be really, really thoughtful about the composition of your various forums, the kind of people that you include in them. And often in a virtual setting, you have to be very conscious also about how each person in the forum is actually contributing their thought process, right? And we have made managers and leaders who are actually governing these forums very conscious about the fact that if there are voices that are not heard, then they actually are called out too, right? Very, very separately, and they're included in the next follow-up conversation. So it's a very basic tip. I know it's very probably rudimentary, but something that we've paid a lot of conscious attention to.
Interesting. Amit, Manu?
Okay, so very simple nugget. There are three words which we try and imbibe in the organization: listen. So when you're in the virtual setting, it's important to listen to everybody. As Raghav said, it's quite possible that some people are not talking because of some personal situation or whatever. Try and get them involved. The second word is involved. So if your team is involved, there's a higher commitment to get things done. And the last piece is support. So listen, involve, support is something that we continuously try and follow because the work can be done by anybody. But the fact that we are doing something new, there is a crisis at hand, and every day the situations used to keep on changing. It's important to support your teams as they execute, because as you execute, there might be new things which will come up. So that's why the three words that we use very, very frequently, which is listen, involve, and support. Thank you, Paris.
That
Thanks.
was beautiful. I would pretty much give my last nugget for the conversation. For us, our inclusion and diversity agenda stands on the pillar of bringing your own self, BYOS. We strongly believe in the concept of BYOS because if you are the best version of yourself, it's only then you will be able to tell stories beyond the ordinary. Don't mind, we continue to believe in telling stories, and stories come from real life. So for us, it's very important for individuals to be true to who they are, where their heart, where their passion is, because that's what will derive purpose for them. In nuggets of what Krishna stated on purpose driven agendas, for us, the biggest advantage of purpose comes in when you're able to break in the shackles of traditional classical hierarchies and functional departments and silos their own to actually has purpose drive critical agendas of the organization. One example I will give, which gets driven at a CEO level, is at every moment, critical moment in the organization, there are CEO sponsored efforts that are released. For example, one of those we called them as propellers. Now, these were ideations which were carved out to create the best possible opinion from the organization, and the teams were asked to create their own diverse workforce. So, when you have a purpose driven agenda and the teams are naturally coming together as a network, by design, inclusion happens because all of you believe in that purpose, and therefore you're able to bring maximum advantage to the work at hand. So we strongly believe in the concept of bringing most of these networks together to deliver the purpose of organization at various times.
Wow. Thank you very much for those closing nuggets that you gave, Manu. So, once again, Manu, Krishna, Amit, thank you very much. Thank you for pushing the DNI agenda in your organizations and making us learn so much more so that we can push in ours. More power to all three of you. Thank you very much. And over to you, Salil.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank
My first of all, sincere apologies for some technical glitches here and there, but it's fantastic to see you guys emerging with such new concepts and learning so fast on a digital platform, virtual platforms, and something like a hybrid enterprise. And Manu, I really resonate with you when you said, fun is not at the work, fun is in the work. And if work can happen anywhere, people can actually enjoy. They can align with the purpose. They can align with the passion actually, which is great to see. It is very deep thinking, not the deep tech. Let me tell you. But thank you very much for joining. It's the first chapter. We'll continue this chapter for over the years now. And Paras, thanks a lot for joining and helping us in moderating this session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paras.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, I think, we have now reached to the last part and the favorite part where, we are going to announce the winners of the last category, which is the winners of a digital native categories. I think we have, two categories there, the future of work disruptor and the future of workforce disruptor. It's digital native companies are born digital. These people, work, think like being digital. But even in that scenario, they were also disrupted in last 18 months when the pandemic hit us. And the organizations have shown resiliency across the board to come out as winners, pivoted the models to really make sure not only their businesses are running, but their workforce and workplace are running. To announce the first award, it's my favorite, believe me. I would first award is Future of Work Disruptor. And frankly speaking, the name of the person is so close to me. He has been, let me say, my childhood friend, schoolmate, is Deepesh Agarwal, CEO and co-founder, Move in Sync, who's the winner of. Hey, hi, Deepesh.
Hey, buddy.
I am so glad and honored to present this award to you, man. I can't tell you how much I know happy I'm feeling, right?
A very pleasant surprise, Saril. We catch up after 25 years on the digital platform. I can't be happier to see you and obviously to get the award. Pleasure is all mine, man.
Thank you very much for joining, Deepesh. Party में बाद में लूँगा तुमसे, लेकिन but let me talk about you guys. Transformed business model in wake of the pandemic. Move from a move in sync perspective, which was staff commuting, to work in sync as integrated workplace management solution to meet hybrid work needs. Implemented innovative self-service solutions such as mass detection, sanitization status, desk hoteling, pre-book parking, and meal, and so. It's fantastic to see how fast and agile you have changed yourself and pivoted. I know personally it's very difficult to pivot. I've been trying to pivot myself a lot, but haven't been able to do it. I want to stand on my hands, but can't do it. But you were able to do it. Congratulations to you, man. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks,
Would you
Arun.
like to say something?
No, I think you're right. It's been a tough time for us. Our business, which was office commute, vanished from 100% in March to 1% in April. So obviously we were absolutely against the wall. And I think the co-founder, and the entire Movin Singh team really put the thinking hat. And I think with God's grace and hard work, we've fairly done a good job in making sure that we made a good solution with Work in Sync, which is right now not only just used by the large Indian enterprises such as Airtel, etc., but also used globally. So really fortunate to have the team and make this happen. And very happy to be on the stage, not only just for the award, but to get it especially from you, Salil.
It is indeed my honor as well, Deepesh. I never thought, the day will come where I'm going to present an award to you, man. We used to kick each other, beat each other, never presented an award to each other. I think that day has also come, right? Fantastic to see you. Good to, we'll catch up offline. But thank you for joining, and many, many congratulations. Our heartiest congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's my pleasure as well. Okay, friends. So, moving to the second award in this category is the Future of Workforce Disruptor. And again, I would like to invite Tanushri Ray, Head of HR, Shadow Fax Technologies Private Limited. And many congratulations for winning this award.
Let's move on, Shalil.
She's not there?
No.
At least let me talk about that. So Shadowfax app has a section dedicated to gig workforce, dedicated rider happiness, team to enable proactive grievances. Oh, she's there. Hey, hi, Tanushri Ray.
Hey, hi, Salil. So I lately, got to know that my cam was not on, so I think he was not able to see. Anyways, thank you so much again, Salil. To share this stage with you again, and this amazing moment has doubled up multifold. Actually, with the second award with us. And thanks again to the entire jury to recognize us for this particular award as well for the Future Workforce Disruptor. And definitely, I can see that what we have done in past 2 years. In another 2 to 3 years, definitely we are going for another the hockey stick growth, and definitely people are the backbone for it.
Thank you, Tanushri Ray. In fact, many, many congratulations. Well-deserved award. There are not many companies who have done what you people have done. And as the head of HR, Shadowfax, I think you play a prominent role to get it done. So many congratulations from us.
Thank you, Salil. One more time. Take care.
Okay, guys, I think, I have got so many parties to attend. I can't tell you. I've given so many awards. Coming to the last one, and my favorite one, actually. I just hope I could possibly have all the jury in front of me to really announce this award. This is the award which is the highest cadre award for W3 Conclave, W3 Champions perspective. I think the category is Mint W3 Company of the Year. I think this is the company who has shown the resiliency across the board. This is a company which has built across all the three pillars: workforce, and we have Krish Shankar, Group Head, Human Resources, Infosys Limited, winning this award as Company of the Year. Hi, Krish. Thank you very much for joining, and many, many congratulations for joining us and winning this Company of the Year award from a W3 Conclave perspective. It is heartiest congratulations. I know the entire jury And when we were discussing, the deliberation went for almost 45 minutes about discussing which company should be the company of the year. I won't tell you the names of the other company, but it was the first among the equals. Let me tell you, it was amazing to see the work Infosys has done. And as it's not only the work which you're doing it for the country today, within the country, but you're servicing customers globally across various geographies. So you reconfigure the company's operating model to a live enterprise which empowered employees through digital tools. I think which is a great way to look at it. Many, many congratulations, Chris, for actually winning the highest order of award, which is Company of the Year award.
Firstly, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and honor to receive this award. Again, as I said, we're really honored. I think this is thanks to everybody in the company. I think the last year or two has been quite extraordinary. And I think it is the kind of combined work of everybody that's really, something that's held us together. I think the kind of the vision of the leadership, the support of our board, as well as everybody within the HR team, as well as all our leaders. I think all of them have really worked together. So yeah, and again, as I said, this is all work in progress. I mean, this is something that we got to continuously keep working. Everything is changing. The world is changing fast. So I think we got to keep ensuring that we are staying ahead of the curve. So firstly, thank you so much. Really honored. And again, as I said, I'm really I accept this on behalf of everybody in the company in Infosys who've really played their big part in this. So thank you.
In fact, Krish, like I said, you be the leader, we be the follower, we'll still reach the same location, same destination, right? So it's great to see. As a flag bearer, I would really congratulate the entire Infosys team. The way you people have pivoted, changed service model, operating model, and people is always the first which comes for Infosys. And good to see that still continuing, long continue, man, and many more to come to your way. Let me say this.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're right. I think this industry is all about people and change. I think both these go together. I think we got to keep on reinventing it, looking at what is our value proposition, how do we change it, and also keep our clients in mind. So yes, so it's a pleasure and thank you. Very honored.
In fact, it's a pleasure. Very humbled and very honored to present this award to you. Thank you very much, Fajay.
Thank you.
So, friends, I think the excitement has reached to the last stage. Frankly speaking, have been presenting these awards across. I've got so many invites for the parties to come across. So I'm suddenly reaching to the last session, but the most interesting session actually. I think it's important for us to understand employee health and well-being. A must-do, least discussed, least being thought through before the pandemic. I think during the pandemic, this subject has come live, and I think this well-being, if you remember, Mr. Goenka started really talking about happiness. The most important metric he's following in his organization is how happy is my employees are. Now people are working from different locations, people are sitting at home, social structures being changed and disrupted. How can we still create a healthy employee, a well-being employee? And when I say well-being, we have to think through a very different lens. To bring this lens to us, I would like to invite Dr. Satya Sriram, CEO, Preventive Health, Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited. Mrs. Sriram had worked with numerous nonprofits and healthcare companies on improving operations, strategic thinking, and organizational transformation. She has also helped us set up the McKinsey Center for Government in Singapore in 2011, an entity focused on connecting governments across Asia and supporting the services to the public. Please give very warm welcome to Dr. Satya.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely, loud and clear. It's
Wonderful.
an honor to have you on the platform, Dr. Satya.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everybody. Truly grateful for the privilege of addressing this august audience this afternoon on protecting and nurturing what I think at least is the most important asset for all of us in business, the human capital, right? The people who actually make the magic happen on the ground every single day. Growing and nurturing this asset continues to be a top priority for many, many companies. An organization that takes care of its people attracts good talent. A happy and a healthy work environment, and we've heard that all day today, at the workplace retains that good talent. This is the first reason to prioritize the well-being of our employees. The second reason is the growing silent epidemic amongst us. Over the last 15, 20 years, along with the positives of liberalization and globalization, come also the perils. Our lifestyles have changed dramatically. What I mean by that, we sit more, we eat more, we stress more, we smoke more, and we pollute more. In 1990, 35% of the deaths in India were caused by non-communicable diseases. This is diseases like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, asthma, liver disease, and so on. 35% in 1990. These are diseases that are not infectious at all. The number one killer then was infectious diseases, your TB, malaria, hepatitis, etc. In 2019, 65% of the deaths in India had some underlying non-communicable disease as the primary cause. And this is only increasing. In one industrial company that we analyzed, the prevalence of diabetes in their workforce increased from 20% in 2016 to 30% in 2020. Right? 4 years went from 20% to 30%. The prevalence of hypertension went from 18% in that company in 2016 to 23% in 2020. Note that the average prevalence of hypertension across the country in Indian population is about 8 to 10%. This is what we're doing to our employees and our workforce. In addition to the devastation to the families of losing their loved ones much, much earlier, we've all heard those stories. There is also a huge economic burden. This is the second reason to prioritize the well-being of our employees. While there's a larger economic impact to the nation, to the individual, there's also enormous economic benefit of a productive workforce in your organization. Every rupee being spent on employee wellness programs must have a return to the employer, either in the form of reduced healthcare costs or reduced absenteeism or even better business outcomes. Many employers, many of you in the room, roughly 50-60% of leading 1,000 companies in India have invested in employee wellness in some way, shape, or form. What I mean by that is the HR team puts together a portfolio of wellness options for employees to choose from. In some cases, they go even a step further, make it mandatory. You don't get your increment unless you've completed your annual health check. Right? So you have your KRAs, check. Your goals are set, check. Your achievement against the goals, check. Development feedback also, how to coach and give that to people, check. Annual health check, check, right? Only then does the increment come. The unfortunate reality, though, is that this isn't working. It isn't enough. Because the person who has to take this seriously, who has to actually do something about it, is beyond the employer, beyond the HR team. It's the employee. Each individual needs to take charge of their health, and that's very hard to do. It's hard to do because health is intangible. It isn't like wealth. You see the bank balance number, you see the wealth management fund amount, and you make an Excel for projection. You can see it, somewhat tangible. Health is not like that. It's all inside. And so what is out of sight is out of mind. And for us to actually be thinking about, this sandwich generation that we have, and what I mean by that is the 30 to 50-year-olds, right? Or even 60-year-olds. This sandwich generation, which is essentially the bulk of our workforce, is caught between prioritizing the health of their parents or other elderly in their homes and their children. And therefore, they allow their own health to slip. The pandemic, though, for its many faults and many shifts it's made us actually do, it has taught us all some very powerful lessons and unforgettable lessons about health. The first, being fit is not the same as being healthy. Let me repeat that. Being fit is not the same as being healthy. Exercising regularly, getting that boot camp 3 days a week, eating healthy, it's important. But it's not always sufficient to help us understand what is going on within our bodies. Even the fit have succumbed to that virus, and sometimes far more severely than others, because they were simply unaware of the underlying health issues that they had that they couldn't see. The second learning is no one size fits all in healthcare. Every body is unique. Our body composition is different, our metabolism is different, as evidenced by the virus that affected very similar people but very differently. Being in tune with your body, knowing how one's body responds, what is one at risk for, what signs to watch out for, what one should be cognizant of, is personal and it's very specific to every individual. The third lesson we learned from the pandemic is proactiveness. Proactiveness is key. We're good about getting ahead of our problems at work, right? Every company now has a crisis management program. Every organization has one in place now. We're also great about getting ahead of our problems at home. We invest in an education fund so that tomorrow when our children want to go to medical school or need money for those engineering fees, we are able to make that happen. We buy insurance for the elderly so that we are able to cover the hospital bills. We're good about getting ahead of our problems. Yet we ignore the early warning signs by our own body. They're often very, very easily missed. If I'm tired, I'm a working mother. Of course I'm tired. How is that a symptom that I'm ever going to think about? It's very, very easy to miss vitamin deficiency because you're tired. I am exhausted all that time. And I didn't think that I would be deficient because I eat very well and I try and stay fit. It's very, very easily missed. But the damage that is done in our bodies because of years of missing those signs gets harder and harder to reverse when you finally find out and you have symptoms that make you sit up and go see the doctor. So being proactive, putting one's health first despite the other distractions, is critical. So for example, if I take pre-diabetes, or clinically it's known as impaired glycemia, there's a very, very small window between being healthy and actually having diabetes. If you catch this window of pre-diabetes, which with the right lifestyle shifts, you can actually move back into the healthy zone. And you miss it, you're on medication for diabetes for life. So we analyzed a sample of about 1.5 million health checks that we'd done at Apollo across the country between 2016 and 2020. And what we found was very startling. We looked at the pre-diabetes prevalence amongst different age cohorts. The pre-diabetes prevalence was 26% amongst the 31 to 45-year-olds. That was the same as the 60 plus cohort, right? So 26% of those between 31 and 45 had pre-diabetes, and 31% of those in the 46 to 60 had pre-diabetes. Those are large numbers in our workforce, and this is the productive workforce of the country. Catching the pre-diabetes early requires you to be proactive about one's health, even at 30. This is the third reason to prioritize the health and well-being of one's employees, and to do it now more than ever before, right? So what can you as HR leaders do? I have 3 simple suggestions. They're simple to speak, but much, much harder to implement. The first is move well-being away from being implemented as a checkbox item, right? or as in many companies as your CSR. This needs to be your investment. Your investment so that you start figuring out what programs you can offer your employees and that can give you the best return. The minute you start thinking about it that way, it's less a checkbox item and you start analyzing it for what best outcome it can have for your employees. The second, and I know many of you do this already, I think we need to recommit to doing it more and doing it better, is inspiring and motivating the employees to take charge of their own health. The gamification helps. It reduces the barriers, the inertia that we all have. But I think above all, leading by example helps. Role model as leaders. We just heard a lot of role modeling earlier today as well, right? Across different topics. So role model well-being as well as leaders. Let people know that you're on your evening walk time when you're calling them. It's okay to have that chit chat, connect with them, and let them know, yes, I do this every day and it's important. It's my non-negotiable time. I'll also take calls, even better if it can be mindful. But let them know. Have standing meetings, have healthy food at events. Push the event managers and the hotels to get the healthy food section to taste better, right? And keep the human connection alive. I think the mind health issues that we are beginning to see post COVID are dramatic. We addressed, a lot of speakers today talked about it. Pick up on the cues when you see something off and let people follow up on it. Inform HR or inform colleagues who are close to that individual to help them pick up on it, because I think that human connection is important and it's a very important part of well-being. And finally, I urge you to take a pledge as leaders in your organization to prioritize well-being above all, so that you are ensuring a healthy workforce that makes for a happy workplace and therefore productive work and ultimately a healthy and productive nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Satya. Thank you very much. I think most important session of the day, I would call it. I think you bring everything together. I mean, it's an old saying that if you're unhealthy, you will not be able to even do anything else, right? So, but I think the way the people need to focus on their health, you elaborated it very well. It's not about gymming and exercising only. I think mental health, precautions, well-being, preventive, rather than suddenly you realize you have to go to a hospital. I think you have to make that big difference. I think we as we started with Jaideep saying that this is the first year when the millennials are coming into the workforce, and they need to drive the change now and take the bandwagon forward. And very well said. We need to learn from them actually, then actually make them learn from us. They shouldn't be learning anything from us. We have done enough damage. What we could do it, but I think they could take it better. And pandemic has given us enormous lessons, not only from a healthcare perspective, but from a social perspective, connectedness perspective, and taking care of each other perspective. I think the new values of what friendship means, new values of what social structure means have emerged, and you people are driving that forward. It's very pleased to know. So having you on the platform, Dr. Satya, it's an honor. Thank you very much for joining and making a closing remark today.
Namaste. Thank you.
It is indeed. Namaste. Thank you very much. Okay, friends, like I said, action-packed agenda, the like pilot always says, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. I'm hoping that you people have enjoyed the flight. You people have manifested the great learning curve around the workplace, and workforce. And all the three Ws have come together in a nice way to look forward for the future. And let's create this future for the next generation, for the next generation employees, for the next generation of purpose which being built. And not only just we are looking at creating organizations, a better country, a better world, better universe for us. I think I would leave this with a vote of thanks to first of all to all winners actually, They've done a tremendous job of transforming organization from one state to another, and making sure that all the three W's have been changed, and the disruption is now least across the board. People are realizing the fact. Then I would like to thank my partners. First Box, Mindtickle. Then we would like to thank Shine and Deloitte with us. I think without them, this wouldn't have been possible. And their insights as well, the way the Box, the way the Mindtickle are now bringing the tomorrow's solutions today for us to utilize in the country. I think it's a tremendous job they have been doing today. So thank you very much to my title partners, a knowledge partner and a talent partner, Deloitte and Shine respectively. I will also like to thank all my audience for being with us, from since the afternoon today. I mean, having your time is the most precious thing I can ask for, and I cannot be honored enough in having your time to spend with us. I hope we were able to add value, but feel free to give your feedback to us. #CHRO 2021. Tweet as much as possible. Let us know what you felt, good, bad. We will still would like to know from you guys. I think I would also thank my speakers who have given us a time. More than the time, I would say the deep insights as practitioners' view from a CHRO function perspective, who actually brought in the value to the organization, the ways the separate industries are working, the way manufacturing versus services industries are looking at it. I think thank you very much for joining us, and long may it continue. We would still want you, come again to and join us maybe later next year perspective. I would also like to thank jury members. I think their time was most precious for us. And in fact, frankly speaking, I was part of the jury deliberation. And while they were deliberating in such a depth that we had such a great learning to listen to them. From Harsh Goenka, and Hema, all of those people bring such a vast knowledge experience with us that it brings the credibility to the award to a very different level. And lastly, I would say the Company of the Year winner, Infosys. Many congratulations to you guys, and thank you very much. With me and my team, guys, making this happen. SK from an editorial perspective and the operations and production perspective. Most of those people for last 3 months have been kind of conceptualizing, building, executing the entire W3 Conclave for 2021. With this, I'm going to take your leave, but thank you very much for joining today. Guys, wait, I hope we can play the videos.
The rapid adoption of remote workforce readiness creates both challenges and opportunities for revenue leaders to develop winning sales and customer-facing teams. To win in this environment, organizations must accelerate how they prepare their teams to be on message and on task the first time and every time. Mindtickle is the industry-leading sales readiness platform designed to engage and transform your team's top performance potential. Mindtickle gives reps the ability to practice and hone their skills wherever they are, and gives managers data and insights to review, score, and coach reps on how to improve their close rates and satisfy customer demands. Mindtickle delivers just-in-time field updates such as new messaging, product information, competitive insights, and more. To combat knowledge and skill decay over time, Mindtickle's spaced reinforcements build proficiency with automatic micro-learning, personalized and gamified challenges, and scenario-based questions. Leveraging the power of AI, Mindtickle's conversation intelligence technology unlocks hidden insights from customer conversations and closes the loop on enablement and coaching. Only Mindtickle can effectively measure the revenue-producing power of your organization. Our Sales Capability Index lets managers identify, remediate, and reinforce the specific capabilities that impact sales results and drive more predictable revenue. With dozens of Fortune 500 and Global 2000 customers, we are the proven leader ready to meet your initiatives today and in the future. Are you ready to transform your bottom line? Ready to enable your whole team to close like the pros? Contact us today because we're ready to help you develop teams that win.
As the modern day workforce evolves, HR is faced with the challenging task of managing a dynamic human capital. However, many organizations still use outdated and disintegrated HCM solutions, which often lead to reluctant and poor user adoption. So why not make life simple, even at work? Meet Darwin Box, a new age end-to-end HCM platform built for enterprises. It helps you manage the complete employee life cycle from hire to retire on one unified platform. With a mobile-first and intuitive user experience, Darwin Box is flexible to configure and easy to integrate. Darwin Box's recruitment and onboarding module makes your entire hiring process effective. From raising requisitions to hiring workflows to sending out digital offer letters, this module empowers you to make smarter business decisions. As Darwin Box becomes your organization's single source of truth, you get to manage complex functional structures with customizable workflows. With easy access to employee data in history, paired with effective permission controls, say hello to intelligent record keeping. The platform also enables managers to work with diverse shifts and rosters, allowing personalization of leaves and attendance, with features like geotagging, OneView, and more. Review and reward your employees effectively by configuring unique assessment frameworks, cascading goals, and sharing real